even care if this is on there, but you'll love this one. So she calls me yesterday. I had a dentist appointment. I thought it was the first time I've seen this dentist. I haven't been to the dentist in forever. So I was in the dentist chair for an hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes yesterday.
Oh, wow.
Cleaning the teeth and just grinding, picking, and I hate all that crap. So when we got to after the 40 minutes of x-rays and the dentist coming in and poking and prodding, they're going to do the deep clean. So I'm going to be there another hour. Well, I can't pick up Maddie. So I text her. I said, there's no way I can get Maddie. So she gets her. She calls me and she says, hey, can you go pick up Maddie Chick-fil-A? Now, she's driving home on I-75. When you get off at Alico, you know what there is right there?
A Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A.
Right.
And I just said, I go, yeah. And I said, but, you just have to make a left instead of a right. And basically, she was pissed that she had to go get Maddie and was in traffic and wanted me to go, save her 10 minutes, I guess. And I just was like, no, basically. Then she came home and the Masters was on, and she was not, she basically thought which is partly true, but I didn't mention that.
Morning, everybody.
Freddie Couples.
Boy, did he ham an egg around yesterday.
Well, and Longer bogey's 18 or he shoots 1 over yesterday.
Right. I missed Rory on 17.
Blew it over green.
Oh, did he?
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floormeister Studios. Floormeisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you on this Masters and Football Friday. Hope you've had a great week, and thanks for ending it with us. How the heck are you, Miller and Moulton? MillerandMoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. Well, I know you're in a good mood. I mean, the Masters is underway, and there's numerous ways for you to take in the Masters, one that you like even more than the other, and you love them both.
I love this week, and what I have discovered, what has happened to me this week, David, and I've said it more off air than on air, but the doctor kind of said lose some weight, and I did. And
Right.
I've worked pretty hard. I've dropped about 30 pounds, so I'm very happy with what I've done. But you would think that would make you makes me look a little bit younger. I've had people say that it would make you feel a little bit younger.
Yeah, you look great.
And I have more energy, but I'm 147 years old, and I discovered that this week.
Please explain.
Well, and part of it I explained to you in a text earlier this week, because on Wednesday, the Tigers were finishing up their series with the Yankees.
Right.
And, well, you had said to me it was on Amazon Prime, which was great, but I had to pick up my daughter from school. She had an early dismissal, and I had to sit in the car line. So what did I do? Tuned the game in on radio.
There
and I
you
know
go.
for a fact I was the only parent in the pickup line listening to baseball. There's nobody else that was doing that. My age was I was getting older by the second. And I've discovered I like listening to Masters radio as much as I like watching the Masters tournament.
So let me get this straight. You have listened to both baseball and golf on the radio this week, and you've thoroughly enjoyed both.
Thoroughly enjoyed both.
So unlike most people who lose 30 pounds and look and feel 10 to 15 years younger, you've lost 30 pounds, and while you look great, you've apparently aged a year per pound.
There is no doubt about it. Listening to baseball and golf on the radio. Hello.
And really enjoying it.
Yep.
Did you your daughter when she got in the car? Okay, because that would have been, honey, shh. All right. It's the 7th inning, Yankees and Tigers. Take enough already. I hope you had a good day. When we get to commercial, I'll ask you about your day.
That's about how it goes. And by that point, she's watching a video on her phone and she's done with me, and then we just do our own thing in the car. But yes, a lot of sports on radio. I love baseball on the radio. I'm amazed that I like golf on the radio, particularly at the Masters, because, the one thing about listening to that tournament, if you followed the Masters the way you and I have, you know exactly what they're talking about. When they're describing it, you've seen it. We've been given so much coverage of this tournament that it's not hard for me to, as my original broadcast partner, Kenny W. used to say, picture the game in your mind's eye. And that's what I'm doing. And the other thing is, I happened to jump on the treadmill yesterday with the Masters on. 2 holes, you're done. 2 holes. Your half hour is more than done.
Right.
I mean, I had the featured group of Scheffler and Thomas and the amateur there. I listened to 3 and 4. Workout done. Pick up the pace of play, boy. I'd like to hear a 3rd hole.
But it is one of the great things about that tournament is it's the same course every year. And we're very familiar with the course, and we happen to like it. And so, yes, okay, it's probably the only tournament that sounds great on the radio for just that reason. You can picture exactly what it is they're talking about. Right side of the fairway, you know what it looks like, pin placements, and etc.
I will say Steve Melnick, who does some of the coverage on Masters radio, former U.S. amateur champ, played the Masters a few times.
Great Gator golfer.
Was part of CBS's coverage of the Masters for years. And he brought up an excellent point, and I watched a lot of coverage yesterday. I was listening from the time we ended our show until it came on at 3:00, and then I watched pretty much all of the coverage. And I didn't hear anybody else say this but Melnick, and he pointed out I think it was when Scheffler made a drive on 9 that he thought he hit pretty hard. And he goes, that would normally roll to the bottom of the hill. But the rain they got on Monday softened the fairways, in his opinion, and slowed the course down a little bit for the drives. Ironically, they all talked about the fact that even though they had rain on Monday, that the greens were rock hard by Tuesday. And we saw that with Rory's shot on 15. Everybody shot on 15. Everybody's trying to get home in 2 on 15. No one could hold the green.
So you had to bring up Rory, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, he played really well for 14 holes.
Yeah, perfect. 4 birdies, no bogeys.
Driving the ball spectacularly well.
Yeah, he's the best golfer in the world right now.
The bunker shot he hit on 10 is one of the better shots you will see. He was in the short-sided on the right bunker and hit that to 18 inches. What a golf shot. What a golf shot.
And then, there was a thing 15 years ago. It was called Clemsoning, in which Clemson, with a lot of talent, would find a way to go 6-6 and 7-5.
And snatch defeat from the jaws of victory so many times.
And I don't know if it's just at Augusta or if it's been the last 10 years in majors, but Rory went Rorying yesterday. Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
And for those of you that picked him, it does not bode well.
No, it doesn't. No, he was in prime position.
Absolutely.
What's the stat? The last however many winners have all been in the top 10 after the first round. Well, hell, he was tied for second.
18 of 19 of the past winners were within 4 shots of the lead after 18 holes. And you had that other stat, but this is what I found this morning. 18 of the past 19 winners were within 4 shots of the lead. That makes it a 6-man tournament.
I was going to say, in that case, it's a 6-man tournament.
The 6-man tournament.
The other stat is that I think it's the last 7 winners in a row were all within the top 10 after the first round. So
which takes us to 10 players.
Right. So, but anyway, Rory fell out of both with a couple of doubles down the stretch, and be curious to see whether or not he can recover from that. And just how low will they have to go?
And usually Thursday's the best day to score. The course was set up to score yesterday. It will get more difficult with each passing day.
Well, isn't today also supposed to be the remaining day where there is a chance of weather?
Correct.
There's like a 50 to 60% chance of rain, thunderstorms, etc. today at Augusta. The weekend is supposed to be sunny and dry. So,
fortunately, the precipitation chances have dropped quite a bit for today in Augusta, where it was 50%. It's much less than that now. So we may have a Masters tournament that is not inhibited by weather at all. That's what we're hoping for. But as David said, it is supposed to be a spectacular weekend in Augusta. Cooler temperatures in the morning, getting around 70 degrees, great golfing weather. And it is funny, as I watch this tournament and it encompasses my day, and my wife kind of sat down to watch it yesterday, and she's been more and more in it. She's like, man, it's pretty there. I'd really like to go there one day. I'm like, yeah, as a matter of fact, you would. As a matter of fact, you would. And she doesn't golf, and that's what that tournament does to so many people.
And how about a couple of the old guys? 65-year-old Freddie Couples, 67-year-old Bernhard Langer. Boy, did Freddie hammer his way around that course yesterday. It's almost as if he's played there a few times.
Makes it damn near impossible chip in on one.
By the way, did you see his reaction with the gallery?
Yeah, he's high-fiving the gallery.
Well, but they're having a conversation like they know each other.
Right.
I mean, that was the best part of it. I mean, he's talking to those two guys he high-fived like they met at the tee and they've joined and they're playing the round together. That was so much fun. And then, man, this is an old man eagle right here. This is an old man eagle. 191. What are you hitting? 7 or 8 wood? Okay, well, I need to get it about 180 and get it over the hump. Okay, it's windy. Uphill, that before it's downhill. I don't know. Didn't he hit the 7 wood?
Is that what it was?
It was either 7 wood or an 8 wood. Okay, and he just got it to over the hump, and it rolled down and in for eagle. Yep. Freddie's looking at the guys he's playing with. You make as much fun of me as you want. That's a 2, boys. I'm 1 under through 14.
And he got it into the house at 1 under. Unbelievable. Freddie Couples, you have to root for him today to make the cut and play on the weekend. Would be absolutely spectacular. And Bernhard Langer ended up at 2 over. He bogeyed, I believe, 8. I know he bogeyed 18. He had 1 bogey, other one coming down the stretch, but he played really well after an even par front 9 on the day. He can't get to the greens in 2 on some of the par 4s.
Well, he only hits at 250 off the tee, and he hits his 3 wood about a 2 1/4. So, yeah. So, 71 and 74 for the 65 and 67-year-old yesterday.
But it was Justin Rose with the 7 under 65 to take the day 1 lead. He has led the tournament after day 1 more than any other player in Masters history.
Has never won, lost in a playoff to Sergio 8 years ago, had another top 2 or top 3 finish, I think with Phil trying to chase down Spieth in 2015. He's had some very good results at the Masters, but obviously he's never won. He's 44 years old.
But that guy named Scheffler, 3 back with a bogey-free 68. Rory, did you hear that? That's a bogey-free 68. See, that's what you do to win major championships. You don't make mistakes, and nobody's better than Scotty Scheffler at that. Ron Sirak will join us to talk the Masters today, and Pat Kirwan in his usual spot here on Miller and Moulton. For over 50 years, the Nolan family has been dedicated to protecting local families. Nolan Family Insurance is a second-generation independent agency that specializes in home, flood, auto, and boat insurance. They take the time needed to explain your coverage options and answer your questions so you can make an informed decision that's right for you. If you're looking for an agency that treats you like family, call 941-639-1122 or go to nolanagency.com. That's 941-639-1122 or nolanagency.com. American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Honey, you want to come out? I haven't seen you since Glass Doctor installed our custom shower enclosure.
No thanks.
Well, you can't keep eating breakfast in the shower, and laminating your magazines is getting expensive. You remember we have guests coming over tonight, right?
Oh, I'm sure they'd love to see the shower.
It's our neighbors, and I highly doubt they want to be hanging out in our bathroom.
The shower's so good, you'll never want to leave. Visit glassdoctor.com today and schedule an appointment online.
Basketball's heating up the hardwood. What a great time to stop in at the Floor Meisters and look at their hardwood. A large selection to choose from, including Mirage hardwood flooring. Floor Meisters has the look and style you want. Mirage wood is grown and made in Canada from the finest quality wood flooring you'll find. And while you're in, ask to see the Petite Enfant collection. 5 custom colors made only for the Floor Meisters. So good it has a 35-year warranty. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard, next to Costco, or floormeisters.com.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Hey, Dan, if you weren't the one, that's fine. Were you the one that said you had a possible sponsor and were going to email me? If it's not you, that's fine. If you were playing a joke on me, it worked. But if it was you, I never did get anything. Can you just let me know, please? And Shimko, yeah, I'll be listening all day. I got to drive to the other coast this afternoon, so I'll be tuning it in on radio.
Yeah, something like that, coffin ball.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
21 minutes past the hour. Thanks for being with us. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. Ron Sirak in a little more than an hour. Pat Kirwan in his normal Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern slot, as we're less than 2 weeks away from the NFL draft. You know, the NBA regular season ends Sunday.
Yeah.
And Tuesday, Wednesday, and I think Friday of next week is when they play their play-in games. Tuesday and Wednesday, and then I think they on Friday have the final play-in games, and then the playoffs. Both the NHL and NBA playoffs begin next weekend in full, but the NBA regular season ends Sunday. Hockey lingers, I think, all the way to Thursday. Most teams done by Wednesday, but I think there's a game or two on Thursday. Even though most every playoff spot is determined in the NHL, it's just a matter of seeding. So not a lot of drama. Same in the NBA. I mean, all the playoff teams have been determined, and it was pretty much known who was going to be in the playoffs when the week started. It's just a matter of what seeding are they going to be.
It is amazing, though, when you look at the standings in the West on a daily basis and just the fluctuation of all those teams from L.A. down to the Timberwolves that are all grouped within 2 games of one another. And every night it seems that 3 or 4 teams change spots of whom they will play.
And the Lakers are the 3 seed, and then 2 of 3 teams who are tied right now for 6, Minnesota, Memphis, and Golden State. 2 of those are going to be in a play-in, and all 6 of those teams are separated by 2 total games. So, yes, the West is a mess. My understanding is first tiebreaker in the NHL is regulation wins. So if you're looking at the standings, it's RW to the right of the point total. RW, not ROW. That's regulation and overtime wins. All right. RW is the first tiebreaker. Whoever has more, they are considered the team that wins the tiebreaker. In the NBA, it's head-to-head. Imagine that. So, and there are a chance for a couple of tiebreaker scenarios in the NBA. The Knicks are only a game ahead of the Pacers as to who's going to be the 3 or who's going to be the 4, but the Knicks do own the tiebreak. So the only way the Knicks would not be the 3 is for them to lose out while the Pacers win out. An interesting scenario between Milwaukee and Detroit is going to play out potentially over the weekend, where Milwaukee's 2 games ahead of Detroit, but they play each other twice to end the year. And if Detroit wins them both, they'll be tied with Milwaukee and they'll own the tiebreaker. So they'd move up to the 5 seed.
I think when it's all said and done in the East, it's going to look exactly like it looks now.
I agree. And we have no idea how it's going to end in the West.
Not a clue.
There are just too many teams too close together. And so many tiebreaker scenarios. So we'll see how that plays out. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. Let me ask you a theoretical question. Would you draft someone who has been charged with sexual assault?
No. No.
Even if the charges go away, even if they could be innocent.
I will say that, Pat's talked about this at length on our show, the extensive amount of work that NFL teams will do to find out if things like this are true. I mean, from hiring former FBI agents to private investigators, they do not spare any expense in finding out all the information necessary. I would do all of that if I were an NFL team. If there was anything but 100% innocence and that I had an FBI agent sitting across me going, this guy didn't do it. This is not a true story. Outside of that, if there was any chance, no, I wouldn't draft him.
And the reason I ask the question is that there is a wide receiver prospect who is considered a day 2 draft pick, late second round or third round, wide receiver Isaiah Bond. All right, you first heard of Isaiah Bond 2 years ago when he was at Alabama, when Milroe and Bond connected on the final play of the Iron Bowl for a miraculous come-from-behind win. I have to admit, Brad Nessler, I thought, with a great call. He describes the touchdown, and then Bond, who makes the great leaping catch in the back left corner of the end zone. To Bond! Touchdown! Bond! Isaiah Bond! Well, that's pretty good, Brad. That's
right. The only thing that
pretty
would have been
good.
better if he would have said shaken, not stirred. But I like it.
But pretty good there, Ness. So he then leaves Alabama and goes to Texas and plays last year with the Longhorns. And like I said, he's a day 2 guy. Late second round, third round, whatever. He's a day 2 guy. Well, there was a warrant out for him for sexual assault. And he turned himself in yesterday. Now, he says there's nothing to this. Nothing. I'm innocent. Hope so. But I'm just curious. We've got 13 days, 14 from when he was supposedly going to be drafted. And I'm just wondering, if you're an NFL team, if there is nothing concrete that can be resolved. I mean, unless the charges, Mark, can go away in the next 13, 14 days. I'm just curious, if you're an NFL team, is he going to get drafted?
I think that he will, David, because I don't think every team is the same in how they look at things like this. In fact, couldn't you almost automatically see Jerry Jones drafting him on day 2? But there will be a minimum of half the NFL teams that will take him off the board because of this, I believe, or at least a third of the teams, that he is just off boards because of this.
I don't think he gets drafted day 2. I don't think a team, if there is nothing that happens on this story publicly in the next 14 days, I don't see a team spending a second or third round pick on him, even though he has a second or third round grade. Because of the potential, obviously. I mean, what if he's guilty? What if he even ends up pleading in some way? Okay, then that's admitting guilt, obviously, to a very unseemly crime. And do fans want players like that on their team? It's a bad look for the GM, blah, blah, blah. But I think the question then becomes, do you take a flyer with him on Saturday?
And someone will. He's a very talented young man on the football field. There is no doubt that he has the skills to play in the league.
He is, but the Joe Mixons and Tyreek Hills of the world had incidents while in college, got drafted. I mean, it affected their draft status, but got drafted. And so he turned himself in yesterday. And obviously, we have no idea if there's anything to the charges. Hopefully not. But I'm curious, if you're an NFL team, what do you do?
And I would damn near guarantee, David, that on day 3 someone takes him.
But wouldn't you acknowledge that even if you wait till day 3, and even if you wait till mid to late day 3, if you end up drafting a guy who ends up pleading guilty to or being found guilty to some form of sexual assault, that's a bad look.
It's a horrible look. And then you have to cut him immediately. But you can come up there and say, we're going to let the justice process play itself out and go from there. The starting 5, that's next.
Whether you're chasing peak performance, reigniting intimacy, or simply want to feel your best, Game Day Men's Health creates customized game plans to optimize your health. Call 239-427-3441 for our Bonita Springs and Naples location to set up your free testosterone test and consultation. Mention Miller Moulton Radio Show for 10% off your service. Find your maximum self with Game Day Men's Health, Bonita Springs and Naples, Florida. Call 239-427-3441 today.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Basketball's heating up the hardwood. What a great time to stop in at the Floor Meisters and look at their hardwood. A large selection to choose from, including Mirage hardwood flooring. Floor Meisters has a look and style you want. Mirage wood is grown and made in Canada from the finest quality wood flooring you'll find. And while you're in, ask to see the Petite Enfant collection. 5 custom colors made only for the Floor Meisters. So good it has a 35-year warranty. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard, next to Costco, or floormeisters.com.
Mark Miller for Molly Maid. Why Molly Maid, you ask? Trust. Moulton was a customer for 15 years. Affordability. Didn't I just say Moulton was a customer for 15 years? Worry-free services. Our professional house cleaners are fully insured and a 24-hour warranty. Call Molly Maids today at 239-774-5839. That's 239-774-5839 or online at mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. That's mollymaid.com/FTMYERS.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Well, right. Matt Ariza, the Chiefs punter, who was wrongly charged. Right. He was drafted, then cut out of the league for a year. Excuse me.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
22 minutes till the top of the hour. Ron Sirak joins us 1 hour from now. Pat Kirwan, top of the 8 a.m. Eastern hour, here on Miller and Moulton. MillerandMoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. We'll put a poll question up there early next hour. We're still percolating on that one. Not quite sure where we're going. So that's why we don't have a poll question yet.
Did you see what the worst score at the Masters was yesterday by chance?
Wasn't it a 90?
It was a 90. Nick Dunlop, who was, I believe, the Rookie of the Year on tour last year, shot a 90. Here's
Right.
the kicker. He didn't three-putt a green. He shot 47 on the back nine. 43-47 for a 90. It is not, however, the highest score in Masters history. Charles Kunkel Jr. in 1956 shot a 95.
Would you post that or would you WD?
Well, Billy Casper apparently shot a 105 at the 2005 Masters. He was 70, but he didn't sign his scorecard, so the round wasn't official.
By the way, we were talking yesterday about ceremonial tee shots, and 1 year Sam Snead was a part of the ceremonial tee shots, and he, before it started, just said, "Hey, after I hit mine, can I just play it out?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure, Sam." Well, Sam played the front nine and shot 39. That's pretty good if you're in the whole ceremonial tee shot routine. But then again, it is Sam Snead, who finished fourth at a PGA when he was 62 years old.
That's why what Longer and Couples did yesterday is amazing. Amazing.
And let's hope they can see the weekend.
The starting five. 5 big stories you need to know. Here is the starting five.
20 minutes before the hour, we'll start with the Masters and 44-year-old Justin Rose. 8 birdies and then a bogey on 18. But a 7 under 65, and that's good to be your first-round leader by 3 over a nice trio of Corey Connors, Ludwig Oberg, and Scotty Scheffler, a bogey-free 4 under 68. You know, Rory was 4 under through 14, and then he went over the green on 15. Well, a lot of people went over the green on 15 yesterday. Yeah, only he chipped it back into the water. Made double. Oh, okay. Parred 16. Yeah, hit it over the green on 17. You can't do that on Saturday. There's no room. You know, that's how Gary McCord is not allowed back. He talked about over the green on 17, the whole bikini wax thing. So that's another double. So Rory went from 4 under to even.
And may have played himself out of the tournament. Based on recent history, Rory played himself out of the Masters yesterday.
It's because, there's 2 compelling stats. One is what? 15 of the last 16?
17 of the last 18 have been within 4 after the first round.
So that's Justin Rose, Connors, Oberg, Scheffler, and the 2 tied at 3 under 4 shots back, Tyrrell Hatton and Bryson DeChambeau. And then there's the stat that's been like the last 7 champions have all been in 10th place or better after the first round. And obviously Rory is beyond that. 65-year-old Freddie Couples with an eagle on 14 with a hybrid from the fairway. And the 92 champion shot 1 under. The 85 and 93 champion, 67-year-old Bernhard Langer, with a 2 over 74, which is right on the cut line. The Masters cut is top 50 in ties. Technically, yesterday, there were exactly 50 golfers who were 1 over or better. T51 is the group at 2 over. So you have to figure, Mark, entering today, that'll double. So it'll either be 2 over or 3 over, and it'll likely be razor thin 2 over or 3 over what the cut will be. Top 50 in ties in a 95-player field. There is no 10-shot rule. And by the way, it does not matter how close you are to the lead. It's top 50 in ties. So let's just say Rose comes back to the pack a little bit here and say something like 5 under's your lead. Okay, 2 over could miss the cut. It's top 50 in ties.
I think it'll be 3. I'm just going to make a prediction. I think it'll play a little tougher today. I think 3 over will be the cut.
Sergio was even. Spieth, Schauffele, Matsuyama, 1 over. Cantlay and Koepka, 2 over. You know, I don't think
Zalatoris 2 over.
I don't think Augusta likes Brooks Koepka. Have you noticed every single time Koepka, who is a huge I hate slow play guy? Well, is there anybody slower than Patrick Cantlay? And they keep putting Koepka in the group directly behind Cantlay. Now, some majors have actually put Koepka with Cantlay. Augusta's a little, more subtle about it. They keep putting him in the group behind Cantlay. By the way, Rahm and Phil, both 3 over. They got work to do today just to see the weekend.
Did you see what Jack said about Phil?
No.
Oh, my goodness. Jack took a shot at Phil after the ceremonial tee shots. They were asked, someone asked him about Phil's play, and he completely dismissed Mickelson. Completely dismissed him. And just said, does he play on Live? I don't ever see him anymore. I mean, just annihilated Mickelson.
Yeah? Well, I think the tour's in trouble. They're not making headway. They're not moving forward. And it's certainly, the PGA Tour may just wait this out. Now, granted, that's a lot of money they won't get if they don't do a deal with the Saudis. But then again, they may just wait the tour out and wait till it goes away, or wait until all the top players leave it. NHL. Mark, your Wings are still mathematically alive, but they're not really. They lost again in Florida 4-1. Panthers a point behind the Lightning for second. It looks as if it's going to be Tampa Bay and Florida in the first round of the playoffs. Although the Lightning have 4 very winnable games to end the season. Lightning could end on a strong run here and challenge Toronto for the division title. The Caps make it official. They're the number 1 seed in the East with a 5-4 shootout win over Carolina. Columbus stays alive, barely, with a 3-2 win over Buffalo. The Rangers stay alive, barely, with a 9-2 win over the Islanders. And Winnipeg clinches a tie for the division in beating Dallas 4-0. So you're going to have the Stars and the Avs in the first round of the playoffs. You could have Panthers, Lightning. You could have Stars, Avs, Oilers, Kings. Never mind the whole Battle of Ontario, right?
Right.
Toronto, Ottawa.
Yep. But the first 3 you mentioned, all 6 of those teams could win the Stanley Cup. I don't believe Ottawa can win the Cup. I'm just intrigued by the matchup. But Florida and Tampa, those are Cup contenders.
Totally.
Colorado and Dallas, those are for sure cup contenders. And I think to a little lesser extent, the Kings and the Oilers. I worry about Edmonton's goaltending.
NBA, Hawks trying to make sure they're in the 7-8 playoff game. Orlando, by the way, will host that play-in game Tuesday of next week, and the Hawks with a win in Brooklyn. So the Pacers clinch home court advantage in a first-round playoff series in the East. It's just a matter of will they be the 4 seed or can they play their way up to the 3 seed. They beat the Cavs last night, 114-112, while the Knicks lost in Detroit, 115-106. Knicks a 1-game lead on the Pacers for the 3 seed. They do own the tiebreak with 2 games left. So obviously, Knicks have to lose their last 2. Indiana has to win their last 2 in order for seeding to flip. Milwaukee assures themselves of a 2-game lead over Detroit with 2 to play for the 5 seed by beating New Orleans by 25. A scheduling quirk, Milwaukee and Detroit will play the final 2 games of the year against one another. So if Milwaukee can get a split or better, they're the 5 seed. But if Detroit wins the remaining 2 games against Milwaukee, they'll be the 5. And Milwaukee will drop to the 6. Minnesota went into Memphis, beat the Grizz 141-125. And now Minnesota, Memphis, and Golden State are all tied for 6th. And obviously there's a big difference between 6th and 7-8 because 7-8's a play-in. 6 is a whew. Okay. Who do we have? Lakers? All right. We'll take them on. And obviously the league rooting very strongly for Golden State to be the 6th. And boy, would they love a Lakers-Golden State first-round series. Remember when the Rays were 4-1? Yeah, that was a while ago. They've lost 6 of 7. The Angels beat them at Steinbrenner Field yesterday, 11-1. This doesn't happen every day. Joe Adell hit 2 homers in the 5th inning. An 8-run 5th for the Angels. Oh, by the way, Mike Trout and Taylor Ward also each hit 2 home runs. Now, they didn't do it in the same inning like Adell did, but wow, 3 players on the same team, each hitting multiple homers in a game. 11-1 Angels. Well, the White Sox have lost 8 in a row. Picking up where they left off. Cleveland got back to 500 with the sweep, 6-1. Royals beat the Twins 3-2. Rockies over the Brewers 7-2. Boston avoided the 4-game sweep at home to Toronto by scoring 2 in the 10th to win 4-3. And Marcell Ozuna with a walk-off homer in the 11th. Braves over the Phillies 4-2.
With a lengthy rain delay, that was an all-day affair to get that game in.
Yeah, that's a great travel night, isn't it?
Right.
Okay, when you're the Phillies. Wide receiver prospect Isaiah Bond turned himself in on an outstanding sexual assault warrant in Frisco, Texas. He's projected as a day 2 draft pick at wide receiver. We'll see. Speaking of wide receivers, did you see the pay cut Alan Lazard took yesterday?
Yes, I did.
He was scheduled to make $11 million, none of it guaranteed. So he negotiated a pay cut down to $2.25 million, but most of it's guaranteed. And instead of being under contract potentially to the Jets next year, he'll now be a free agent after this season. So he takes an $8.75 million pay cut, but gets some guaranteed money out of the deal and free agency a year early. The Jets, meanwhile, instead of having a $13+ million cap hit, they get a $4.6 million cap hit. So they save themselves over $8.5 million. And it was 2 years ago the Colts made a big deal when they signed Matt Gay away from the Rams. And Gay was an excellent kicker. Tremendous from 50+. Yeah, he went to Indianapolis. He has not been a tremendous kicker, and he has not been all that good from 50+. He had 2 years left on a nearly $6 million a year contract, and the Colts cut him yesterday. Wow. Not even bringing him to camp to compete against somebody. Huh. And at 8 minutes before the hour mark, that was the starting five. 5 big stories and a pay cut that you need to hear about here on Miller and Moulton.
So we talked a lot of Tyreek Hill yesterday.
Yeah.
And I read a good article yesterday that really broke down the salary. I mean, the only hope they would have for some salary cap relief is to trade him. And they would have to give him away if they want to get rid of him. If you think of what Metcalf got going to the Steelers, they're not getting that for Tyreek Hill, which I think was a second and a seventh.
Mark, there's a part of me that wonders if you're the Dolphins, do you have to call someone up and say, we'll give you Tyreek and a sixth? Well, what do you want back? Oh, I don't know. $500? Some footballs? You agree to scrimmage against us in 2027?
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Basketball's heating up the hardwood. What a great time to stop in at the Floor Meisters and look at their hardwood. A large selection to choose from, including Mirage hardwood flooring. Floor Meisters has a look and style you want. Mirage wood is grown and made in Canada from the finest quality wood flooring you'll find. And while you're in, ask to see the Petite Enfant collection. 5 custom colors made only for the Floor Meisters. So good it has a 35-year warranty. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard, next to Costco, or floormeisters.com.
Wine glasses never fall over until you get a brand new rug.
Oh, no!
Ketchup bottles act normal till you're wearing a new shirt.
Oh, you kidding me?
And rocks slide peacefully on the road till the day you get a brand new windshield. Then they fly up off the road and attack without mercy. That's why new windshields from Glass Doctor come with our windshield protection plan. Unlimited repairs and 1 replacement for 12 months. Don't just fix it, protect it. Glass Doctor, a neighborly company.
Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine. No more snoring. No more tossing. No more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound.
We've got a text message for Dr. Dollar. A few of my friends are taking daily Cialis or Viagra. What are the benefits and how much does it cost?
Great question. Cialis, Tadalafil, and Viagra, Sildenafil are game changer for men who want better performance, stamina, and confidence. They improve blood flow, support long-lasting performance, and help you feel like yourself again. And the best part, at Revitalize Clinic, we make it affordable. Less than $1 per pill. No overpriced prescription, no hassle, just real results, American-made, at the best prices in town. Plus, with early hours starting at 5:30 in the morning, we fit your schedule.
Take control of your health today. Call Revitalize Clinic at 239-277-5770. Visit revitalizelounge.com or text Dr. Dollar directly at 239-980-2302. That's 239-980-2302. Get results. Get confidence. Revitalize Clinic, because every man deserves to perform at his best without breaking the bank. Text Dr. Dollar now at 239-980-2302.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Everything all right over there? You have a look of concern on you.
Well, I'm trying to find out who's the golfer from Noah Kent.
Noah Kent. He shot, he's tied for 90th.
What did he shoot? Like plus
79.
5? 79.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even
Gotcha.
par on the front. Then he went double, bogey, par, birdie, double, double, par, bogey, par. Not very good.
Okay. All right. So there you go.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floor Meister Studios. Floor Meisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Hour number 2 of Miller and Moulton on this Masters and Football Friday. Thanks so much for being with us. 13 days away from the NFL Draft. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. We'll have a poll question for you coming up shortly. I didn't include this story in the starting five because I wanted to talk about it, although I don't know how lengthy a discussion it will be. So the NFL puts a broadcaster, like a lot of leagues do. They put a broadcaster in their Hall of Fame every year. In the NFL, they call it the Pete Rozelle Award. And Nance won it like 10 years ago. They presented Joe and told Joe that he was going to be this year's recipient of the Pete Rozelle Award in the booth of a Monday Night Football game. He found out at halftime. And Troy did a really good job. He brought his Hall of Fame jacket with him, and we kept it hidden from Joe in the booth. And then all of a sudden, late in the halftime, we're about ready to come out and start the second half. And Troy pretended as if he had to, go somewhere, maybe to the little boys' room. And he came back around the corner in Cleveland, and he had on his Hall of Fame jacket. And Joe just looked at him. And then David Baker, the big guy who was in charge of the Hall of Fame up until a couple of years ago, he showed up, and live on the air, they presented Joe with, hey, you're going to be the Pete Rozelle Award winner this year, which meant that Joe went in with his dad into the same Hall of Fame, which obviously meant a lot to him. But there was one I felt, Mark, noteworthy broadcaster who was not in the Hall of Fame as a winner of the Rozelle Award. And that was Brent Musburger. And for whatever reason, the word was that he was kind of blackballed. And when asking why, I had never heard a good explanation. Some of it had to do with the Jimmy the Greek situation, in which people felt that Brent did him wrong. But for whatever reason, and for those that don't know, Brent Musburger, for nearly 20 years, was the host of the NFL Today, the first pregame show to make it.
Right.
To actually have people watch
studio show. It was part, if you're of a certain age, it's part of what you did. It was the first one we got. Jimmy the Greek would do those matchups that were, quite frankly, ahead of their time. It was a show with Irv Cross, Brent Musburger.
At first, it was Phyllis George.
Phyllis George, right. That was the name.
Also was trend-setting to have a woman involved in an NFL broadcast. But You Are Looking Live. That's where that came from. Brent Musburger in the NFL Today. And they would start their show with a bunch of live shots from the stadium 30 minutes before kickoff. You are looking live at East Rutherford, New Jersey. Well, when Brent and CBS parted ways, Brent has had very little to do with the NFL since 1990. He did a few playoff games with ABC. I know Brent and Gary did a wild card playoff game, the Jets destroying Peyton and the Colts one year. But he didn't have a lot to do with the NFL anymore. And then about 6-7 years ago, Brent became the radio voice of the Raiders. Their last years in Oakland, and I think their first year or so in Las Vegas. And Brent's in his mid-80s now. But yesterday, the NFL announced that this year's winner of the Pete Rozelle Award is going to be Brent Musburger.
Oh, good for them. Way overdue. Brent's contributions to the league with the NFL Today show are legendary. I mean, you have to look at that show as part of the train that kept the league moving. Because when that show started, the NFL was not the number one sport in the land.
Not even close. That show started in 75, I think it was. And I mean, the NFL didn't catch up to Major League Baseball till the mid-80s. But Brent Musburger and You Are Looking Live and CBS's NFL Today show, and their pregame show still has the same name, but Musburger and CBS dominated, by the way. They were the number one pregame show their entire history until literally CBS lost the rights to the NFL in 94. And since then, Fox took over. And now the Fox pregame show is the number one rated show and has been for basically 30 years.
And it will be interesting to see with now Jimmy gone, and you don't know how much longer Howie and Terry are going to do it as they have to revamp that. Will they stay number one?
But really, the anchor of the first pregame show, Mr. You Are Looking Live, Brent Musburger, will get his place in the Pro Football Hall of Fame as the winner of the Pete Rozelle Award this year. And I'm with you. I think it's overdue.
Yeah, if you would have asked me if he was in that wing, I would have just said yes. I would have thought he would have been in 15 years ago. If you know, I mean, whenever they started doing it, he would have been on the short list to me of guys that, because he's a contributor. I mean, I know it's the broadcast part, but he's a contributor to that league.
And obviously I am biased here, but it is something that I am hopeful that one day Troy gets. Because there are only 3 men who are in the Hall of Fame as both players and broadcasters, which I'm surprised the number's not 4. But I believe the 3 are Gifford, Len Dawson, and Dan Dierdorf.
I would have missed that trivia question. Because the fact that you didn't say John Madden.
Well, but it was as a player.
Okay, is he in as a coach, as a broadcaster then?
Well,
or is he just in?
Okay, he's in as both, but he's in as a coach into the Football Hall of Fame, I believe. But I'm surprised Merlin Olsen actually wasn't one that's also in as a player and in as a broadcaster. But my hope is at some point that Troy becomes the 4th. I mean, he's done almost a quarter century as a top analyst in the league. You know, I hope at some point he gets it, but we'll see. I mean, Musburger had to wait till he's in his mid-80s, 35 years after he basically was directly associated with the league. So sometimes they make you wait.
No doubt there. 21,000's the text line, 21000 if you want to chime in on anything going on, be it the Masters, a little football talk. We're getting closer to the NHL and NBA playoffs. The NBA season will conclude over the weekend. The play-in games begin next week. Still a few more days for the NHL season, as really all we're looking at in both leagues is seeding, because playoff spots are largely determined. There are a handful of teams in hockey that still have a shot, but they're probably not going to get in. They would need the perfect storm to overtake the last wild card spot in the East that Montreal still has. And I believe Calgary still has a snowball's chance in the West. But again, you would need to win out and have a team lose out. And it seems highly unlikely when you're a 500 team to rattle off a winning streak this late in the season.
But when the playoffs get going, it makes for a very fun time for us, the fans, because also you get into that rhythm where you've got meaningful sports every night. And especially while the first 2 rounds of both playoffs are playing themselves out, I mean, that's a month. I mean, each round takes 2 weeks. So, you've got till at least mid-May in which we're going to have meaningful sports every night beginning next week. Never mind the fact, if you're a baseball fan and all that, but I'm just saying, playoff games, that's meaningful.
Absolutely. And while in the NBA, I think we're just waiting to get to the Cavs in Boston for the Eastern Conference Final. In the West, I think it's a crapshoot. I mean, first off, we don't know who anybody's going to play. So you can't even talk about what the matchups are going to look like. But with so much parity between 3 and 8, and no one trusts Houston, who's the 2. So, I mean, the NBA Western Conference playoffs could be really interesting. Really interesting. I ended up watching a big chunk of Cavs Pacers last night. And it was really good. Second half of that game, they played high-level basketball. Could maybe say it was a lack of defense, but they were making their shots. They were making good plays. They were going back and forth on both sides. Cavs coach got a double T in the third because he argued a call and got kicked out, added a little spice to it. So that could be a second-round playoff matchup. That was good last night. Give me 6 of those. I'd take it all day long.
Well, the Pacers are entertaining. They are. I mean, nobody takes them seriously as a title threat, but they are entertaining. And it's funny, they still don't have a whole lot of respect. They did go to the conference finals last year. I mean, they've gone further in the playoffs than both the Knicks and the Cavs have recently. So there's got to be a little something going on there. If I gave you the Celtics or the field, who would you take?
I would take the Boston Celtics.
Okay.
You did not hear any hesitation there. And I'm not talking just for the East. I'm talking for the whole damn thing. They largely do this sitting a guy every night. They're so deep. Their top end is fantastic between Tatum and Brown. Then you add Porzingis into the mix. They're the class of the league to me. And they've just kind of played through the regular season. But when they've had to get up for games this year, David, when they've played Cleveland, and it was a big moment, when they've played the Knicks, they've disposed of the teams largely that they are thought to have been equal to. And I don't think home court matters one bit when it comes to the Boston Celtics. So I don't think having to go to Cleveland is going to be at all a hindrance for Boston to represent the East. And we'll see if it's Boston and OKC. I'm all in. It's something we all do. If we play golf, we've all done it. But this one's a little more unusual than most. I'll explain next.
Miller and Moulton would like to thank the sponsors that, quite frankly, saved the show in 2024. Whether it was Floor Meisters, American Paint Supplies, Glass Doctor, Molly Maid, Cigar Bar, Sleep Treatment Direct, the Diamond District, and even the Cape Coral Police Department, thank you. We're hopeful of a great 2025, still needing sponsors, so reach out to Miller and Moulton via X at that Mark Miller or the David Moulton, or text us at 21,000. But Miller and Moulton says thank you to our sponsors and to you, our loyal listeners.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Basketball's heating up the hardwood. What a great time to stop in at the Floor Meisters and look at their hardwood. A large selection to choose from, including Mirage hardwood flooring. Floor Meisters has a look and style you want. Mirage wood is grown and made in Canada from the finest quality wood flooring you'll find. And while you're in, ask to see the Petite Enfant collection. 5 custom colors made only for the Floor Meisters. So good it has a 35-year warranty. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard, next to Costco, or floormeisters.com.
Do you have a sleep problem but don't want to wear a CPAP mask? This is Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. The mask wasn't working for me, and I didn't think I had an alternative. I do. We all do. They have such simple alternatives with greater success than the mask. Visit sleeptreatmentdirect.com. That's sleeptreatmentdirect.com. And if you are like me and your CPAP machine isn't working for you, it's time for a change. Call 239-444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound.
This is Miller and Moulton.
BU's definitely won it before Ambient, probably a few times. Western Michigan has never been to the Frozen Four, so this is their first trip to the Frozen Four and first trip to the championship. $100% RCB. Well, BU is who people will be rooting for because they're the team with the more storied thing. So, I mean, they're, nobody knows who Western is. In fact, Ambient right now, no one else, Ambient. What's their nickname? Without looking it up, Western Michigan is the That's what I thought. They're the Broncos, Ambient. That's the Western Michigan Broncos. Did you see this story, Dave? It's non-sports, but did you see the story in California about the bass player from Weezer's wife? So apparently there's a hit and run and 3 people escape and there's helicopters and all of a sudden this woman comes, like they're trying to apprehend these 3 people. This woman comes out of her house with a handgun. The police keep telling her to put the handgun down. She points at the cops. They shoot her in the arm. She goes back in the house. It was the bass player's wife from the band Weezer. She got arrested on attempted murder charge. He's playing Coachella this weekend, for the record.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Very rock and roll.
That is true.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X, Ron Sirak, in a little more than 15 minutes. From the Masters, to talk about the Masters, Pat Kirwan at the top of the hour as we continue to zero in on the NFL draft. And we'll ask Pat the question that we banted about ourselves. Would you draft someone who is, well, just got arrested for a felony?
So, as anybody who listens to this show knows, I play golf. I mean, I'm all right. But the guy who's the club champ where I play, friend of mine by the name of Chris Zio. And he was playing in an event a couple of years ago that was the men's and women's shootout, an alternate shot, 9-hole thing, pairing the best male golfers and the best female golfers as a team. And they do it every year at the course. And he happened to win this year, that year that he did that. But what was notable about it is as the people were watching, and I think there were 10 twosomes or, so 20 golfers and other people are watching because they get into that sort of thing, is that Chris, who, like me, likes beer, I would argue to say that he loves beer, kept disappearing kind of behind and on the side and having to relieve himself from time to time. And it became a joke that all these women are watching the back of Chris as he's making his way around the front 9 at Estero Country Club. That's one thing to do at Estero Country Club. It's quite another to do in Rays Creek. Because yesterday, Ballester, Jose,
Is it Ballesteros or Ballester?
No, it's Ballester. Jose Luis Ballester. He won the U.S. Amateur. Plays golf at Arizona State. He's from Spain. He's paired with Justin Thomas and Scotty Scheffler. As they do every year at the Masters, the U.S. Amateur champion plays with the past Masters champions. They've been doing that for years at Augusta. Well, on the 13th hole, the par 5, there are bathrooms right next to the tee for the players. He didn't see him. And as he's making his way down 13, he realizes, and he said, and I quote, I'm like, I really need to pee. Didn't really know where to go. And Justin Thomas hit his approach shot into the bushes to the left on the 13 green. And he said, since JT had an issue on the green, I'm like, I'm just going to sneak in here in the river and probably people won't see me much. He was playing with Justin Thomas and Scotty Scheffler. He was the feature group on Masters.com. He said he may have gotten the biggest applause of the day after he relieved himself in Rays Creek, because many a patron witnessed the 21-year-old participant, and he isn't worried about any blowback from Augusta National. He said, they saw me. It was not embarrassing for me at all. If I had to do it again, I would do it again. peed in Ray's Creek, David?
Well, it's what he'll be known for at the Masters until he actually accomplishes something there.
Got that right. That is something. I've heard a lot of Masters stories. That one I've never heard of anyone doing before. And I'm sure they had. Sure, he's not the first. But, with all those trees getting knocked down, he probably lost a few spots where he could have hidden a little better.
I guess so. I mean, that's the thing I don't understand. I mean, why didn't he just, hop the creek and go deep into the woods?
Right.
Okay, where he really wouldn't be seen. Also, don't you bring the caddy, okay, and have the caddy stand in front of you, turn around, obviously not to watch, but just stand in front of you with the bag just to
block.
Right. So
he, by the way, is the same player whose coach got kicked off the range for wearing shorts.
Oh, so they've had a hell of a week.
They've really had a hell of a week.
Hey, listen, who knows when he'll be able to play here again? I mean, because he's in as amateur champion, but once he becomes a pro, he's got no status unless he finishes top 8 this year, which is unlikely.
Well, he probably won't make the cut. I mean, there's one amateur at 1 over. The rest of them are, I believe, 4 over and up, including, is it Kent, the kid from Southwest Florida that's playing, that got off to a great start and had a rough back 9.
Yeah, what did he shoot, 79?
Yeah, after an even par front. So that was a tough back 9 for him.
I must admit, I had one episode as a caddy, all right, in which, I had to go. And neither guy I was caddying for, had a problem with it. And, I go, listen, I'm just going to run over here, what have you. They're like, yeah, sure, I'll meet you up at the green. Gave them their putters, and I'm like, I'll meet you up at the green. Asked the other caddy, can you get the pin? I'm going to be trailing the play, so to speak. But on the other side of the fairway were a row of homes. And I wasn't on that side of the fairway. I mean, I'm not, taking care of business in somebody's backyard or anything. But I'm across the fairway. I'm in the woods. And I'm not facing anybody. But one of the residents called and complained. And it was the 15th hole. So, about 45 minutes later, we're done. And, I clean the clubs and what have you. And all of a sudden, the caddy master pulls me aside. And, of course, the story that got relayed to him was, I might as well have just
been in the fairway, right?
Right. I mean, and done it twice, at the 200-yard marker and then at the 150 marker. I mean, I'm like, no. I just, he's like, well, why didn't you go? I go, it's not like the place is loaded with porta potties.
There's a guy at my club who got caught doing what you're talking about. And I don't know, a woman must have seen him, off in the bushes relieving himself. And she complained. And the guy is a pretty nice guy. He doesn't ever cause any problems. And when you get complaints said about you, you can get a letter from the club. He got a letter for peeing. And I thought it was the funniest thing in the world because of all the people to get one, this is the guy that shouldn't have received.
See, I'd frame that sucker.
I would too.
Totally. I would frame that sucker. Never mind, I'd post it on social media, but I would frame that sucker.
If you have a bar at your house, that's right over the bar.
In fact, to really stick it to the person who filed the complaint, I would show up at their house and said, could you sign this? And then I would put it, in the frame right after they signed it. Okay, thank you very much. This has made my day. But
so a story of relief at the Masters.
That's one way.
Justin Rose is your leader. And based on recent history, there are not a lot of guys that are really in this tournament.
It's either 6 or 10, depending on your point of view. But if you go by the whole 4-shot rule, and what's that, 17 out of 18?
Yes.
We're within 4 shots of the lead after the first round. That means Justin Rose, Corey Connors, Ludwig Oberg, Scotty Scheffler, Terrell Hatton, and Bryson DeChambeau.
That's it. That's it. The other one is 7. Was it 7 of the last 8 have been in the top 10, right?
Right. I think 7 in a row. Yeah.
So that adds 4 more players. That's it. Masters is over.
So for those that thought Scotty would repeat, yeah, okay. For those that thought it was Oberg's turn, okay. And then you got DeChambeau. I'd love Scheffler and DeChambeau in the final group.
I'm right there with you. Right there with you.
That'd be fun. Miller and Moulton. Ron Sirak, he's having fun covering the Masters. He'll join us next. Pat Kirwan at the top of the hour here on Miller and Moulton.
Mark Miller for Molly Maid. Why Molly Maid, you ask? Trust. Moulton was a customer for 15 years. Affordability. Didn't I just say Moulton was a customer for 15 years? Worry-free services. Our professional house cleaners are fully insured and a 24-hour warranty. Call Molly Maids today at 239-774-5839. That's 239-774-5839 or online at mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. That's mollymaid.com/FTMYERS.
Whether you're chasing peak performance, reigniting intimacy, or simply want to feel your best, Game Day Men's Health creates customized game plans to optimize your health. Call 239-427-3441 for our Bonita Springs and Naples location to set up your free testosterone test and consultation. Mention Miller Moulton Radio Show for 10% off your service. Find your maximum self with Game Day Men's Health, Bonita Springs and Naples, Florida. Call 239-427-3441 today.
For over 50 years, the Nolan family has been dedicated to protecting local families. Nolan Family Insurance is a second-generation independent agency that specializes in home, flood, auto, and boat insurance. They take the time needed to explain your coverage options and answer your questions so you can make an informed decision that's right for you. If you're looking for an agency that treats you like family, call 941-639-1122 or go to NolanAgency.com. That's 941-639-1122 or NolanAgency.com.
Basketball's heating up the hardwood. What a great time to stop in at the Floor Meisters and look at their hardwood. A large selection to choose from, including Mirage hardwood flooring. Floor Meisters has a look and style you want. Mirage wood is grown and made in Canada from the finest quality wood flooring you'll find. And while you're in, ask to see the Petite Enfant collection. 5 custom colors made only for the Floor Meisters. So good it has a 35-year warranty. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard, next to Costco, or floormeisters.com.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Ed, thanks. She's completely ghosted me. I had a phone meeting with her. She got the proposal. We had a long conversation. I was supposed to call her last Monday. I did. She didn't answer. She didn't answer Tuesday. She's not returned texts. She's not returned calls. She has completely ghosted me. Completely. Like, it as unprofessional as life gets. You want to say no? Text me back and say we're not going to do it. So my guess is they're out. But thank you. I really appreciate it. I'm being sincere. I really do. It just, it is what it is. Ron's on.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. Text the guys what's in your mind at 21,000. That's 21000. And now, here's David Moulton.
At 22 minutes before the hour, Pat Kirwan will join us at the top of the hour here on Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. He is a tremendous golf writer and has been for a long time. He contributes to the Golf Channel. He pumps out work on Ron Sirak, Sirik.com. He is Ron Sirak. You can follow him on X at the aforementioned Ron Sirak, Sirak. Ron joining us once again on the American Paint Supplies Hotline, your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. So how is Northeast Georgia treating you?
Yeah, this is my 34th time here, and it never gets old. It's just, it's an amazing facility, amazing golf course, and we got off to a really compelling start yesterday. A lot of fireworks here.
Ron, I'm curious, as someone who's been there 34 times with Hurricane Helene, how different is the course, and in particular, is it different when it comes to how the winds swirl because so many of the trees are gone because of the hurricane?
Yeah, you know, it's funny. It's noticeable. You can stand in certain places and realize that you're seeing things that you didn't used to be able to see before. But at the same time, as they do with every change that's ever done here, it looks like everything's been this way forever, you know. So it's not like you can say, oh, you know, they're working on that area. Everything is immaculate. The main part, down around Amen Corner, you can see the neighboring Augusta Country Club, which abuts the course. You can see parts of that golf course you didn't used to see before. But I still think those pines still shelter the green. You stand on 12T, and you look at the flag on 12 green, and it's limp. But you look over at the flag on 11 green, and it's moving. So the winds are still very hard to gauge here. Very hard to figure out what direction they're coming.
Justin Rose, not many players, especially recently, with a better track record, who has never put the green jacket on, lost in a playoff to Sergio 8 years ago. I think finished second to Spieth when he won it as well. I think it was him and Phil battling Spieth to the end. You think Justin Rose still has enough game to win a final major?
You know, this is now this is the ninth time he's had the lead or the co-lead after a round in the Masters. That's the most by somebody who doesn't have a green jacket, and he was tied with Nicklaus for the most first round leads here with 4, and now he's got 5. He's got that record all to himself. As was always the case with Justin, I think his overall game is as good as it's ever been. It's going to be how he performs on the greens. That's the putter has never been the strongest bag in his club. If that holds up, it'll look, he's going to be able to hang in there all the way. He's shown he can play this golf course. There's no question about it. I think that his iron play is particularly mid irons. This is the strongest part of his game. That's really important here. This is a second shot golf course. I think he can hang in there. I think he can do this.
Well, you're right about a second shot golf course. Rory drove the ball brilliantly yesterday. Everybody went over the green on 15. So you can't really fault Rory. As I heard yesterday, they redid that green. It's a little firmer than most, and most shots were carrying over the green. But then to amplify it by doubling 17. I mean, he gets in at 2 under. There's no real worry. That second double, that's a mistake that you just can't make, is it, Ron?
You know, I think I've said to you before, I always have felt this way since 2010, that with his A game, Rory McIlroy is the best player in the world, and his weakness is he doesn't know how to win with his B game. When he makes mistakes, he lets them compound, and we saw that yesterday. And you see it in his body language. You know, when after he made the double on 15, he still had a chance to get in the clubhouse with a number in the 60s, you know, and he needed to do that. You know, he needed to. 17 was in a lot of ways worse than what happened on 15 because he's in the fairway with his drive, misses the green long, hits a bad chip 30 feet past the hole, then 3 putts, you know, and that was just a blockheaded double bogey right there. But we've seen this act with Rory before, of where he lets mistakes compound themselves, and the great players know how to let go of bad shots and move on, and that's not the strength of his game. It's just hard to believe that he keeps putting himself in this position so many times and letting things slip away from him, like we saw last year at the U.S. Open.
Ron Sirak, ronsirak.com. Follow him on X at Ron Sirak, Sirak. And Ron, I don't know if it has this feel, so you tell us. You know, remember back in the day, like Jack would compare himself to where he was in the field to where Arnie was, then in later years to where Watson was. Obviously, we all went a generation where golfers compared themselves to where they were in comparison to Tiger. All right, well, Rory's 4 behind Scheffler. And I'm just wondering, with his recent form there, obviously 2 wins in the last 3 years, all right, is that really, forget Justin, is everybody looking at, X number of strokes behind Scheffler?
I think they have to, because you talk about not having your A game. Scheffler did not really play all that well yesterday. He only hit 11 greens. You know, and still goes out and shoots a 68. You know, so if he hits on all cylinders today, he goes out, shoots a 65, and then everybody really is going to be looking up at him. But he's got to be, you know. Sam Snead always used to ask, "What's the little man doing?" So he wanted to know what Ben Hogan was. So he knew who he had to beat. And I think right now that Scotty Scheffler is the guy to beat, and everybody's got to pay attention to where he is and see what kind of move he's going to make today. As I said yesterday, that was an impressive score that he put up, not playing anywhere near his best golf.
7 up and downs, missing those greens, and then dunking 2 long putts. He made a 60-foot putt on 4 that, if it doesn't hit the hole, might have gone 10 feet past, and then made another bomb on 16. But Bryson DeChambeau, a 3-under score. I don't know of many athletes that have transformed their image quite the way Bryson has done. You know, you go to the Live Tour and you get scrutinized by everybody. Despite that, between his YouTube channel and just the way he's kind of changed the way he's acted publicly, he's a lot more likable to a lot more people now. I don't know if it's between him and Scheffler. I'm sure they'll be rooting for Scheffler on Sunday, but DeChambeau looks like he's figuring it out.
Yeah, he is. You hit the word exactly right there. He's a lot more likable than when he first came out here. You know, I still look at his technique and I don't understand how he makes it work, but it is fun. He looks totally mechanical out there, but he does make it work and hits the ball an enormous way. The putting thing is what drives me the most crazy. It looks like there's absolutely no feel in his technique putting, but he does make it work. And you're right, the YouTube channel has totally transformed his image. He's just a lot more accessible of a guy and a lot more articulate and thoughtful of a guy than he was when he first came out here. He used to just be totally into himself, and now he seems to want to he wants people to have a peek into what he's all about. You'll be right. It will be interesting to see how the crowd would react if we had a Sunday shootout between DeChambeau and Scotty.
You know, Oberg finished second last year, and obviously people have been raving about his game. 25 years old, only 2 career wins on tour, yet to win a major, but his game and this course do seem to like one another.
And he just seems to have the major championship mentality. You know, his feet are firmly on the ground. He seems to be a level-headed young man, and who's not going to be rattled. He's the kind of guy that if he made a double bogey on 15, you know, he would figure out how to put that behind him and to let it go. I love his attitude, and I think attitude it's really important in every major, but it's really particularly important at Augusta National because the genius of this golf course is if you hit your targets out here, you can shoot a low score. The ball will funnel towards the hole, but you don't have to miss your target by very much. You know, that shot that McIlroy hit into the water on 15, you know, he probably missed his target by less than a yard. And it's penalized in that way. But Aberg's got that sort of mental discipline to let go of bad breaks. And that's going to serve him very, very well on this golf course.
You know, sometimes when you get a leaderboard like this, there's a name on it that doesn't go with the others, and yet we should pay more attention. And to me, that's Corey Connors. He's had top 10 finishes at the Masters. He's had a few top 10s this year. He has the game. People don't know the name, but he plays this course really well, doesn't he, Ron?
Yeah, he does. I think he's got 3 top 10s here, and 3 in a row. And so he does play the course well, and he is somebody who also thinks his way around the golf course pretty well. The kind of shots that you need on this golf course, it's good to hit the ball high, and he's got that kind of game. And I think that he's a name to keep an eye on. You know, I'm fascinated by Ashtay Bhatia. You know, he's the first graduate of the Drive, Chip, and Putt Championship to make it into the Masters field. He weighs about 4 pounds. You know, an enormous way.
And then there's the old timers. Freddie with 1 under, Bernhard with 2 over. Both have a serious chance to make the cut. I mean, I thought I saw where Longer's drives now are 250 and his 3 woods are 2 1/4. So there's got to be a handful of holes that he can't even reach in regulation. I mean, if either were to make the cut, Ron, it'd be remarkable, wouldn't it?
Yeah, Bernhard, this is his 41st Masters, and he says this was his last one for exactly the reason that you're saying. I mean, he's hitting 3 woods into par 4s, you know, so that's no fun to him. But Freddie missed by about 1 month. Tom Watson is the oldest player to shoot under par in the Masters. He was 65 and change when he did it in 2015, and Freddie was 1 month 1 month younger. But to shoot. And again, Freddie has always played this golf course well, I'd like to see them both make the cut. You know, it would be particularly Bernhard, since this is going to be his last Masters. It would be a fun way to send him off.
And Ron, finally, you know, hate to have you play weather guy, but is there talk as to one session, morning or afternoon, may play more difficult today? Is there talk that the wind will pick up in the afternoon? Do you think a grouping has an advantage today?
Well, you know, I'm looking out right now at the media center, and I can see the flags on the tournament practice facility out there, flipping pretty good. So it looks like it's going to be a little bit blowy out there, but I think it's going to be the case all day. We had rain on Monday, and that seems to be behind us. It's chilly here. It's starting out like around 50 and probably going up into the mid to high 60s. So it's not that hot, humid weather where the golf ball goes a long way. But I don't think anybody's got a particular advantage on the tee times today. It's always good. I always feel it's good to get out there early and get on the greens when they are fresh. And I look for some good scores out there early. It'll be interesting to see. McIlroy's got a morning tee time today, and you know, it would be very Rory-like for him to go out and shoot 65 today and get right back into the middle of everything and then let us down on the weekend.
He's Ron Sirak at his 34th Masters. Ron, thanks for making time for us. Enjoy your weekend and safe travels, and hopefully we'll talk soon.
Talk to you down the road, my friends. Bye-bye.
Ron Sirak, Sirak, ronsirak.com. read what he's writing about the Masters, and also follow him on X at Ron Sirak.
He mentioned that Rory has an early tee time. Justin Rose, your leader, goes off a little before 9 o'clock this morning. Oberg a little before 10 o'clock. So that's a couple. Most of the other leaders are a little later in the afternoon.
And you're betting on 3 over being the cut. Like right now, there were 50 golfers 1 over or better. It's top 50 in ties. So literally by one golfer, if they had set the cut yesterday, it would have been 1 over, but it could easily have been 2 over. So usually you double it the next day. So you're talking 2 or 3 overs, probably the cut line.
Yeah, I think it'll be 3 just because I think guys press a little bit more on Friday. They're trying to make cuts. There'll be a few more mistakes. If the wind's like what Ron says, that'll add to it. The greens will be firmer, and it'll be a little bit more difficult playing conditions. Pat Kirwan to talk the NFL. That's next on Miller and Moulton. American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net. Sleep problem but don't want to wear a CPAP mask? This is Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. The mask wasn't working for me, and I didn't think I had an alternative. I do. We all do. They have such simple alternatives with greater success than the mask. Visit SleepTreatmentDirect.com. That's SleepTreatmentDirect.com. And if you are like me and your CPAP machine isn't working for you, it's time for a change. Call 239-444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound.
Wine glasses never fall over until you get a brand new rug.
Oh, no!
Ketchup bottles act normal till you're wearing a new shirt.
Oh, you kidding me?
And rocks lie peacefully on the road till the day you get a brand new windshield. Then they fly up off the road and attack without mercy. That's why new windshields from Glass Doctor come with our windshield protection plan. Unlimited repairs and 1 replacement for 12 months. Don't just fix it, protect it. Glass Doctor, a neighborly company.
Basketball's heating up the hardwood. What a great time to stop in at the Floor Meisters and look at their hardwood. A large selection to choose from, including Mirage hardwood flooring. Floor Meisters has a look and style you want. Mirage wood is grown and made in Canada from the finest quality wood flooring you'll find. And while you're in, ask to see the Petite Enfant collection. 5 custom colors made only for the Floor Meisters. So good it has a 35-year warranty. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard, next to Costco, or floormeisters.com.
We've got a text message for Dr. Dollar. I feel tired, sluggish, and just not myself. I'm gaining weight, my energy is low, and I've lost my drive. Could it be low testosterone?
Absolutely. Testosterone naturally declines over time, but you don't have to accept it. Low T can affect your energy, strength, mood, and focus. But here's the good news. Testosterone replacement therapy, TRT, can help restore your vitality and get you back to feeling your best. Imagine waking up strong, sharp and energized, ready to take on the day like you used to. At Revitalize Clinic, we specialize in physician-guided, American-made TRT designed just for you.
Take control of your health today. Call Revitalize Clinic at 239-277-5770. Visit revitalizelounge.com or text Dr. Dollar directly at 239-980-2302. Feel like yourself again. Testosterone replacement therapy, because your best years aren't behind you, they're just getting started. Text Dr. Dollar now at 239-980-2302.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Morning, Pat.
Good morning, fellas.
How are you?
Me, I'm good. It's nice having the weekends off. Friday actually feels like a Friday.
I bet.
It never feels like Friday during the season. It's just day 5. Everything good, you guys?
Oh, yeah, no complaints.
Yeah, well, you love this. This is sit in front of the TV and watch golf for 4 days.
I love it. I got to go to the other coast tonight, though. The daughter's got her state gymnastics meet tomorrow morning.
Oh. Well, at least you can listen to it in the car.
I'll listen to it the whole way over, and then I'll be back by noon tomorrow. She competes early. We'll be done early. I'll be back. Yep.
Yep.
I've got a bunch of draft stuff I want to print out to read while I'll be sitting there at the competition, and when she's there, I'll be paying full attention and videotaping for the other hour and 56 minutes that she's not competing. I'll be reading draft stuff.
It's a little bit like track and field. Like
exactly.
Your kid runs the 100 meters and then sits there for 5 hours waiting for the bus to leave.
Yeah. Well, and it's like, because she's 4 events, so you go for your minute and then you're done until the next one. It's
crazy.
It's the only thing it's my only bitch about him. I'm just happy she's playing sports, but it's my only bitch about individual versus team sports.
Yeah.
Team sports is just, as a parent, it's easier to watch.
And hockey's easier than them all because it's not guaranteed not to get rained out.
You got that right. No, I used to make that speech when I started the Everblades and was going to speak to all these people, and I'd always talk about youth hockey, and I'd always make the comparison to baseball. And I said, we all know the kid that got stuck in right field who sat there with his hands on his knees for the inning and never came close to touching the ball. I said, the one thing I can guarantee, if your kid's playing hockey, no matter where he is, the puck's going to find him at some point. He's going to be part of the play.
There is no doubt about that. I never really understood it until I started going, and it never gets canceled for weather. Never.
Right.
And in the summertime, the summer hockey that my guys roll in, it's absolutely great to go into an arena that's freezing cold.
It's down here. It's the best. I loved working in that place in the summertime.
I told you I go over there, even this time of year. If I'm not playing golf or something, I go over in the morning with a coffee and sit in the cold arena and watch the old man's league. I do. A couple of guys that live in West Bay play in the league, and it's just great. Go over. You need a jacket. It's so cold, especially in the morning. Those arenas they're freezing by the end of the night when no one's in them.
Yep.
Pat, for playoff tickets, I saw an email yesterday. You may only be able to access them through an app. I sent an email back to them yesterday going, what the heck? Because obviously, the way we've done it for years, you'd have the tickets in your hand. So I'm going to try to get to the bottom of it because I believe, isn't it next week the playoffs start?
Yes. And someone told me on Wednesday night that they had to get their tickets through an app. I heard that from one of the knuckleheads upstairs.
So going to try to, figure that out for you.
Yeah.
And get back to you.
Yeah. Another game tonight. They're sold out tonight again. It's unbelievable.
It is remarkable.
Yep. Tomorrow night, totally sold out.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floor Meister Studios. Floor Meisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Halfway home in the 239 and the 904, final hour of our week in Lake City, Live Oak and surrounding areas, Port Charlotte, Venice and surrounding areas, Miller and Moulton. MillerandMoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. Fridays, 8 a.m. Eastern means Pat Kirwan. He of NFL Radio's Moving the Chains, CBS's NFL Today show. Pat joining us courtesy of Pinchers, Tampa to Key West, all points in between Pinchers because you can't fake fresh. I mentioned the NFL Today, Pat, because Brent Musburger is finally going into the Hall of Fame. What do you think was up there? Brent's in his mid-80s, okay? His heyday was a while ago, but still, why do you think it took so long for Brent Musburger to win the Pete Rozelle Award?
My suspicion is that some of the ones that have won it that are active, verbal, and everything else have pointed out, I think on multiple occasions, that what are we doing here? Get them in. So that would be my guess, that there are those that are in that are, and they're the ones that can talk. If you're not in, what are you supposed to say about anybody else? Nothing. But if you're in, I think you have a chance to voice an opinion. I think enough of that's happened that this is going to happen for him. He has a CBS history here. I was obviously not there when he was there, but there's still, not right now, but when I first went to CBS, there were still people that were there with him, and they spoke very highly of him, and that he was worthy of a lot of different things. So I was not even involved in the media then, so I didn't really appreciate it. But as time's gone on and I've done more and more, I appreciate all these guys that have done something extraordinary for a long, long period of time.
I'm just curious, Pat, and I should have probably asked you this off air, but when that show started mid-70s, NFL Today, I mean, you're still watching football, playing football, starting your coaching career. Did you watch any of those pregame shows way back then?
No, I did not. It's funny when you're on that side of it. You don't. First off, it's usually like the NFL Today show is on literally when you're having pregame.
Right, but you were at college when that was starting out, so I didn't know if Sundays you were watching NFL. I was more
No,
curious.
I would say I think that the one thing I always looked for was the opportunity, because we knew Monday Night Football at halftime was the only time we got to see highlights. Right, there were no highlight shows, and you just waited to see those. And if you thought Sunday they were going to show a couple of plays, that was an exciting thing to see. But I don't know. Maybe you guys were like me. We played football in the street or out in the field until literally the start of the 1 o'clock game.
Pat, 13 days before the draft, what are franchises doing right now? Has a board been assembled?
Yes. But as I like to say, it's with magnets, so you can move it around, and there's still business going on. It's funny you say that, because yesterday I did decide to look at pro day results, which I hate pro days, and I'm looking for certain exceptional things that might influence me and someone else, like Milroe running a 1.44 first 10 yards. I think that was the fastest first 10 yards of anyone. I have not found one guy that beat that time. And that made me look at Milroe, and the one thing I can't stand is people always compare Milroe to Richardson. And there is no comparison. Milroe's a better football player than Richardson. And not that he needs a lot of work on some stuff, but he is farther down the road than Richardson was. And I say that because I've had a conversation with two guys who said to me, we really like Milroe. And I said, well, how long do you think it's going to take to get him ready to play in an NFL Sunday? He goes, we're going to use him right away. Not all the time, but we already figured out there's places for him. So I think he's kind of drifting up the draft board a little bit. And I say that as it relates to, and we talked about this on Tuesday, there are teams at the top of the second round that are not going to like sitting there. And I guarantee with Minnesota with their 4 picks, Washington with their 5 picks, I think someone's going to jump in the bottom of the first round to take the quarterback they want, because the way the draft's set up, look at the top of the second round. There's too many teams that need a quarterback that are not going to take one in the first round. And do you want to get shortchanged of the guy you want? And I think that's what's happening right now, David. They're starting to clear up the picture of how they see the second wave of quarterbacks. And I think it's going to cause someone. Lamar Jackson was a go back in the first round. Flacco was a go back in the first round. Someone is thinking, the guy I want, I better get into the bottom of the first. So I think they are talking to those guys down there that have limited picks.
All right, I'm curious on the other side of the ball. Everything I've seen from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is they brought in like every corner for their 30 visits that they can bring in. I know you do your mocks each week. When you look at Tampa, have you earmarked a certain player? It seems that they want to go corner. What are you thinking with the Bucs, Pat?
Well, Todd Bowles sees players a little different than some people. And he's got, things he likes about guys. And as long as he's got a say in the room, they might take someone we didn't think they'd ever take. When it comes to Tampa Bay, who have I put there? I put a receiver in there, which I don't think I would do. Jim did. And then I put a Manawari in there, the safety. He's a unique player. You tag him up with the other guy they have already, Winfield, and I think you'd have a great team. And everyone looks at safeties different in the last, 8 or 9 years. So you need matchup guys. You can't just be insert run defenders. You can't just be deep middle players. They ain't getting in empty sets, and you might have to match up 2 guys. So I think Manawari is the kind of guy that might be interesting to them. The corner population, again, going back to just some of these crazy pro days, that you start seeing some things that we don't talk about, like that kid at Virginia Tech, Dorian Strong. I don't know. He's over 6 foot. He's 6'1", but he also had a 6.60 3-cone drill. That will make a team send their secondary coach down to Virginia Tech this week and work the guy out. And you can see a surprise, not the first round, but the second or third round, the fourth round, which leads me to the first thing I wanted to say today. So, in my bizarre mind of trying to stay up with trends, do you know that 35%, this is as accurate as I can get it as of yesterday, 35% of starters in the National Football League came from day 3 of the draft. And that's important to remember when you're drafting. Like, it's not a good time to go get a sandwich and miss 20 picks, but 35% of the starters are day 3 guys. That should be enough to keep everybody on their toes during day 3.
Well, and obviously day 3 is rounds 4 through 7, so that's about 60% of the draft, and about 1/3 of the starters come from 60% of the draft. Is that enough for you to adopt the Belichick train of thought, where Bill seemingly always wanted to trade out of the first round and not only acquire more second and thirds for this year, but acquire one of those for the following year? Are you, as drafts and the number of draft busts, Pat, where I think the first round's almost 60-40, quite frankly, that, I mean, as the draft is going on, are you becoming more and more a guy of, yeah, I can trade down and be fine?
Yeah, so let me use Buffalo to answer your question. You'll like this, I think. Here are their guys from day 3 that start for them. Shakir, round 5, the receiver. David Edwards, the guard, 5th round. The fullback was a college free agent. Here we go. This is really impressive. Matt Milano, 5th round. Christian Benford, 6th round. DeMar Hamlin, 6th round. Dane Jackson, 7th round. Teron Johnson, 4th round. That's literally their whole secondary. All day 3 guys and starters.
Pat, one of the things that will happen in the drafts, and I think, David, when we do our draft show, David, you've been really good at pointing this out, and it's made me pay attention to it, is the run on certain positions, but particularly on day 2, when you start getting the runs on positions, is, if you're in the draft room, is someone there paying attention to every other pick and saying, hey, we've had 7 receivers go this round. We've had 6 defensive tackles go this round. When these runs start going, how does it affect those in the draft room, Pat?
Well, in our draft room, I can speak for ours. We obviously had the big board, which David's already asked about. It's being structured and for the most part probably mostly done. But we also kept right next to it a position draft board. It's always, you need a visual. And that position draft board had, let's say, quarterbacks. There are probably 11 quarterbacks on the list, and maybe 2 or 3 had a first round grade, depending on the team. And, you know, everyone's a little different. But then you start seeing them diving into the exhausting the first round grade and maybe even taking a second round graded guy at a position in the bottom of the first round. Then you realize where the anticipated run on day 2 is. And we said this the last couple of years a lot. This is the greatest time to be drafting a team because you get that break after a Thursday night to reassess your board. And you get it again on Friday night. I mean, the first time I did a draft, we did, I think, 14 rounds without stopping. Forget it. Guys were sleeping in the room. And now you get these overnights twice to reset your board, analyze, Mark, what you just asked, and then take a look at where the next run's going to be. Because runs come in spurts in different places.
Yes, they do.
So the offensive tackle one is the one that intrigues me. We could be to the second round graded tackles by the midpoint of round 1.
Pat, we got about a minute. I'm curious as to how much depth do you think we have at the defensive line position? Because we have a bunch of them that are first round picks. How many do we have beyond that? Because, like, if I'm Tampa, that would influence me. I may think in the first round, I got to grab the best defensive lineman I got left on my board because I can get a corner or a safety tomorrow.
Well, I love the question because that's one of the things I'm doing this morning, not just to prep for our little mock draft, which is easy to do, but so if I looked at I have 70 names ready for a 2-round mock draft. 70 should be able to handle finding 64 guys. And in that, to answer your question, I have 8 defensive tackles that I think will go in the first 2 rounds. Now, how many will go in the first round? At least 5. So I'm comfortable if I need a defensive tackle that I should be able to grab one in the first 2 rounds, which means I think he's a starter, at the very worst, a rotational third tackle on my football team week 1.
He's Pat Kirwan. Moving the Chains is weekdays on NFL Radio from 3 until 7. He and his co-host Jim Miller will do their 2-round mock draft today. More with Pat, courtesy of Pinchers on the other side.
Do you have a sleep problem but don't want to wear a CPAP mask? This is Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. The mask wasn't working for me, and I didn't think I had an alternative. I do. We all do. They have such simple alternatives with greater success than the mask. Visit sleeptreatmentdirect.com. That's sleeptreatmentdirect.com. And if you are like me and your CPAP machine isn't working for you, it's time for a change. Call 239-444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound. American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Basketball's heating up the hardwood. What a great time to stop in at the Floor Meisters and look at their hardwood. A large selection to choose from, including Mirage hardwood flooring. Floor Meisters has a look and style you want. Mirage wood is grown and made in Canada from the finest quality wood flooring you'll find. And while you're in, ask to see the Petite Enfant collection. 5 custom colors made only for the Floor Meisters. So good it has a 35-year warranty. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard, next to Costco, or floormeisters.com.
Whether you're chasing peak performance, reigniting intimacy, or simply want to feel your best, Game Day Men's Health creates customized game plans to optimize your health. Call 239-427-3441 for our Bonita Springs and Naples location to set up your free testosterone test and consultation. Mention Miller Moulton Radio Show for 10% off your service. Find your maximum self with Game Day Men's Health, Bonita Springs and Naples, Florida. Call 239-427-3441 today.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Man, there's so much crap to pay attention. All of a sudden, my computer that runs all the commercials got a notification. We're going to restart the computer in 3 minutes. No, you're not.
Oh, God.
No, you're not. So you got Blades. You got Blades tonight and tomorrow. Is that it for the regular season?
Yep. Went Wednesday, and they were losing 2-0 and won 5-2. That was fun. Yeah, tonight's and both nights are sold out. It's really wild.
They have done. You know, when I got gassed there, we were doing really well. We were leading the league in attendance every year. And when they got rid of me, their attendance suffered greatly. And there are a lot of people that even in their boardrooms were going, you know, there was someone here that did this. And my firing was justified. I don't complain about that. But this guy they brought in, when they brought in Chris Palin, who's been there now, I think 6 years, he has done a fantastic job as a director of, I think he's now I don't know what his title is, but I was VP of sales and marketing. He's got a better title than that, but it's the same job. And he has done an amazing job. He got that Hertz deal done. You know, they've really invigorated that team. It's amazing because not many minor league franchises have a huge dip in attendance and ever get it back. Usually once it goes to 3,000 a night, that's what it is.
and they've got it back, and that's remarkable.
Yep. And they did a nice job of reviving the stadium.
That's all Hoffman. When he bought that, he cleaned the place top to bottom, put that new scoreboard in, that new the new video or the new light boards. I mean, the fan experience there is great. Great.
Yeah, it is. It's terrific. And guys that come to visit me that have NHL teams they visit, they're like in a little shock. The guys from Detroit that came down maybe 3 weeks ago, they were like, "You got to be kidding me! This is really this experience is good."
Exactly.
They thought
really
it was
is.
like, let's go out, make an excuse to have a beer. They love the hockey part of it. Yeah, it's just you can't beat it, and it's a lot of young families go.
Well, that's what they got back, and that's the key is to get back to get back the families.
Yeah, and hockey's an interesting developing fan sport, and we're in Florida, and right about now, all the snowbirds are gone, and you're seeing the Florida families. It's fun for me to see them. There's a Spanish family that sits behind me, and they are all into hockey.
Well, and the other part that Craig got, I won't say lucky because that's not fair. When we started this, and when I met with Craig before, this is when I met with him in North Carolina before I even had a job. He had 3 different possibilities to build this place, and we talked about it. And I'm like, you've got to put it between Fort Myers and Naples, and he's like, I agree. Because they were given the spot downtown Fort Myers, they turned down, and I think by the Civic Center, which would have been a dud. And I remember, long before I was hired, saying it's got to be between Naples and Fort Myers. And Pat, when we used to play men's league there when the arena first opened, we'd go sit at that mobile and have beers when they finally built it. There was nothing there.
I know. I remember when they were building the outlets. Yeah, now but
now all the families live where? In Estero, between Stony Brook, that Bellaterra out there, the place, all those developments in Estero are full of families.
Yeah, and Corkscrew going east.
That's what I'm talking. Yeah, all out there. That's where Cassio lives. That Bellaterra is a huge neighborhood for families. Stony Brook's a huge neighborhood for families.
Yep. Nope, I'm with you, and it's just. Now, how they used to go to the little Irish bar across the street? What the heck was the name of it? O'Grady's or
Beef O'Brady's, yeah.
Yeah. Where they go now is the Stone and whatever it is.
Oh, Oak and Stone, the pizza joint?
Yeah, that is like the hangout after the games.
That's a good little spot. I like that spot. I've been there a few times.
There was I obviously don't go after games. I go home and I'm ready to go to bed.
Yes.
But Janet and I went in there. I don't know. It was a home game. It was a Saturday game. We went in like 5:00. I was trying to meet my brother and his wife, and the girls were going to leave us and go somewhere. The place was mobbed in pregame, and people in all
Welcome
kinds
back
of funny
to
outfits.
Miller and Moulton. Text the guys what's in your mind at 21,000. That's 21000. And now, here's David Moulton.
21 minutes past the hour, remaining moments with Pat Kirwan. NFL Radio's moving the chains. Pat joins us courtesy of Pinchers. Tampa to Key West, all points in between. Pinchers, where you can't fake fresh. Pat and all our guests joining us on the American Paint Supplies Hotline, your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. A question in our Twitch chat room, Pat, from Yinzer. So obviously he's a Steelers fan. Are you surprised by a player or two who's still an unsigned free agent?
Yeah, I think there's some guys holding out on purpose. Not many of them, but some of them are holding out because they didn't get what they wanted, so they're not going to do anything until after the draft, and some of them are going to wait till there's an injury. And those guys are always interesting to me. Aaron Rodgers, everyone knows about him, and him not being signed yet. But if I'm Pittsburgh, I wouldn't be waiting around. I'd be moving on here, and basically. He's waiting till after the draft. I guarantee he's just sitting there with his ego thinking about, why am I going to go somewhere and be the next Kirk Cousins? I'll just wait out and see if I like what you do. That kind of guy. Those are the surprising ones. Amari Cooper, where's he? I like Brandon Cooks. Those kind of guys I like. Shaq Mason's out there. Yeah, there's a couple guys that I think that are out there. Tyler Lockett, I think he's just figuring out what he wants to
I
do. I
got to
wouldn't be
admit, Pat,
surprised.
I don't think this is a great wide receiver draft class. I might look at a veteran wide receiver as opposed to wasting a pick on one.
Yeah, and take a 1-year deal on Cooper. I think Robert Woods. Yeah, there's a couple guys out there to answer his question. And then I think you got to look at the deals that got done, like the Stephon Diggs deal. And part of that is tied to medical. I get it, but it's still not a fat deal. So some of the guys I mentioned, you should be able to get them at a great price. And I can tell you this: you asked about the draft. Simultaneous to the finals of the draft board was, I remember when I was the pro personnel part of it. Steinberg would come in and say to me, "Hey, I'll use receivers as a hypothetical example. I need you to get 3 receivers on hold," which meant talking to the agent and going, "If we don't get the guy we want in the draft, we're going to come for you during the draft to sign your guy." So, I had that with the defensive ends 1 year. I had to keep 3 guys on warm and fuzzy until and stay up with them at the end of the first round. Go, "Hey, we didn't get the guy we wanted. Still got a round to go here," but trying to keep 2 or 3 guys alive, knowing we weren't the only team talking to them. This year looks like you might be all over it, David, with receivers. I'd be talking to 3 of those receivers, saying, "Hey, just bear with us until the end of round 2, and if we don't get the guy we want, then I'm calling you."
And Pat, on that note with the receivers, we talked about it a little earlier on the show. Isaiah Bond, the Texas wide receiver who turned himself in for sexual assault. He says he's not guilty. How many boards is he off of today that he may have been on 2 days ago?
That is an ownership issue. If we go back to, and I don't want to mention guys' names, but we know of an owner's wife who, after they drafted him, refused to let him be signed. And so, as my owner would always say to me, "I don't want to find out something tomorrow that you could tell me today. So make sure you know everything about a guy, because you and I know if you draft a guy, that someone's going to splurt out a story." And with Isaiah Bond, maybe there's more stories to it than that. So, yeah, you got to be really careful. But by the nature of the accusation, that's all I'm not here to judge him. By the nature of it, though, an owner's wife could get involved in saying something about that.
But you think, because unfortunately, he's charged with sexual assault. Not that there are good felonies to be charged with, but obviously this is pretty unseemly. Do you think he's still draftable? It's just a matter of, instead of going day 2, he goes day 3.
Yeah, there are teams that do that. I won't mention the team. You should figure it out. You think about some of their drafts. You're the historian, David. I know a team that doesn't take guys off the draft board for character issues.
Well, the Bengals oftentimes don't. The Chiefs are certainly willing to give guys second chances. Tyreek had his issues in college and they took him. So there are organizations that, will maybe pause, but not for long.
No, it's funny. I think we could all laugh at this. It's funny how if he drops a round, that justifies taking him. So if you go from the 3rd to the 4th round, you're a good guy. No, come on. But people wait. If his name's on the board, they'll do it.
By the way, a little NFL news for you as we have Pat on. Adam Schefter reporting that Joe Flacco has signed with the Cleveland Browns for what it's worth. I thought Minnesota should have signed him for a backup, but Flacco obviously wants a chance to start. He'll probably get that in Cleveland.
Well, he already proved to them he can
Right.
play. And why'd they ever let him go? Because they didn't want to hear the chants of Flacco in the stands last year. Joe was a hot commodity for the last month.
Pat, I'm curious. I listened to Trevor Lawrence the other day. I would love someone to get up in front of the podium when asked about how the new regime going. Oh, it's the same as it always was around here. Everybody's gung-ho when the new regime comes in. When you look at Trevor Lawrence, do you think he can play? How worried about you are the future of Trevor Lawrence and the Jags?
I don't say this to be sarcastic, but he's good for another coach or two. Where they drafted him and what they paid him, they could fire another coach and give the next guy another chance. They're not ready to bail out on him.
Pat,
I know that.
His contract doesn't even kick in till next year. I mean, he doesn't start making double nickel till next year. So, I mean, they're stuck from a contractual standpoint, I think, till at least through 2028 in terms of guaranteed money and what have you.
That's Liam Cohen's deal up to 28, right? He's not going to go anywhere for the next 3 or 4 years after and their owner's fairly patient. But as I said, I think there's one more coach past that before they'd start blaming the player.
I think, though, like, how important is this year? Is this like Baker 2 years ago? Like, I mean, how important is it for Trevor? Like, to me, Trevor's got to get in the conversation with Dak Prescott pretty soon, if you know what I mean. Whatever it is you think of Dak, you think he's top 8, top 10, top 12, whatever. But don't you think that Trevor's got to become side by side with the Dak Prescotts of the league?
Yeah, and maybe even worse than that, because unlike Baker, who was a controversial first pick in the draft, a lot of guys thought they shouldn't have taken him. Everyone on the planet thought Trevor should go first. He was getting Peyton Manning coming out of college status. And so it's going to be much, much harder for them to admit they were wrong. Where in the case of some of these guys like Baker, they, you know what, short, all of a sudden he's short, all of a sudden he's temperamental, whatever they wanted to say. In the case of Trevor, it's going to be, as I said, 2 more coaches, probably 29 before they realize. Now, maybe he turns it around by then. But what I don't know, and I like Trevor, but maybe that's part of the problem. He's a very likable guy. Does he love football? Like, is he obsessed with it? Tom Brady was obsessed with it. Peyton Manning was ridiculously obsessed with it. I don't know. You know, I think Liam's going to give it his best shot. See if he can get that thing rolling. But if he doesn't, they'll get another coach to do it.
He's Pat Kirwan. He and his co-host Jim Miller will conduct a 2-round mock draft on their show today. Their show is Moving the Chains, weekdays 3 to 7 on NFL Radio. Pat joins us twice a week, about 9 months out of the year, courtesy of Pinchers. From Tampa to Key West and all points in between, Pinchers where you can't fake fresh. All right. By the way, I know you won the coin toss. Did you keep the first 2 picks or did you defer?
I deferred. I was thinking of Mark the whole way. Mark, I looked at the whole first round and said, if I defer, I get picks 3 and 4. You know what I landed up with? I got Minnesota and I got Atlanta, the 2 teams that need picks. And I said, I really want them so I can move down and get more picks. That's why I deferred.
The trades will be happening during Pat's mock draft with Jim today on NFL Radio. It's Miller and Moulton. Thanks for listening.
Basketball's heating up the hardwood. Time to stop in at the Floor Meisters and look at their hardwood. A large selection to choose from, including Mirage hardwood flooring. Floor Meisters has a look and style you want. Mirage wood is grown and made in Canada from the finest quality wood flooring you'll find. And while you're in, ask to see the Petite Enfant collection. 5 custom colors made only for the Floor Meisters. So good it has a 35-year warranty. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard, next to Costco, or floormeisters.com.
For over 50 years, the Nolan family has been dedicated to protecting local families. Nolan Family Insurance is a second-generation independent agency that specializes in home, flood, auto, and boat insurance. They take the time needed to explain your coverage options and answer your questions so you can make an informed decision that's right for you. If you're looking for an agency that treats you like family, call 941-639-1122 or go to nolanagency.com. That's 941-639-1122 or nolanagency.com. American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Wine glasses never fall over until you get a brand new rug.
Oh, no! no!
Ketchup bottles act normal till you're wearing a new shirt.
Oh, you kidding me?
And rocks lie peacefully on the road till the day you get a brand new windshield. Then they fly up off the road and attack without mercy. That's why new windshields from Glass Doctor come with our windshield protection plan. Unlimited repairs and one replacement for 12 months. Don't just fix it, protect it. Glass Doctor. A neighborly company.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Unless I missed it, and I usually pay pretty good attention to the starting five. You know, we neglected to even mention who won in the Frozen Four.
Oh, my God, you're right.
And since I've thought about that, we've had Ron Sirak and Pat, so there's not even been a second to bring it up.
Western Michigan and BU.
26 seconds into double overtime for the Broncos.
Denver, who they beat, were the defending champs.
Yeah. They're in the same conference, and Western beat them in overtime in the conference championship game as well. Western's old. I mean, old.
Well, also, remember, it was 5 and 8:30 were the start times, and the 5 o'clock game goes double OT.
And I forgot all about it yesterday. I didn't watch a second. That's all on me.
I know. I didn't either. 7:30 ESPN2 Saturday night.
Ooh, I like it.
BU and Western.
And I'm watching the Pacers and the Cavs last night, and I could have been watching college hockey. I'm telling you, though, Reggie was having a ball. I mean, it was like it was Kevin Harlan and Reggie Miller, so it's a great flipping call.
Right.
What's Justin Rose shoot today? If I put the over-under at 71.5, where would you go?
Under. Not my much, but I think Justin puts a 70 or 71 on the board.
Will he be the day 2 leader?
Yes.
All right.
Might be co-leader, but yes.
Hey, I know he's going early, but Sean Salisbury just reposted something he put on X 3 hours ago. And it's interesting. It's an interesting comment about how to do college football.
Are you talking about the Tennessee quarterback?
I am.
Yeah, I didn't know if we wanted to wait till Monday or not.
No, we can. No, I just thought, Sean, I mean, he's got an interesting take here, and it's kind of along the lines of what we've talked about. But he just says, if this is how we are going to do college football, then we should be able to cut players anytime they want, attach buyout numbers to every player, and put a salary cap on the money available in the portal. Time to give these players a taste of reality. Also need to tie academic progress and performance with their ability to get any money. We no longer have college sports. But
yeah, I wouldn't even.
That part I don't agree with, but neither here nor there. He's, I know he can only do 6:30 or 6:15, but he's a fun guest. What are you talking about, Lucifer? He's not got divorced. He's back with his wife, and he'll make the cut. In fact, if the over-under on Rory was 69.5, I would go under.
Oh, you think he's going to play well today?
I think yeah, I do. I don't know, Lucifer. I don't like to go to those stories. I really don't. They're grotesque to me. I saw it, and it's just not. No thanks. Minwoo Lee's 1 under, Johnny Mac.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
22 minutes till the top of the hour. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. If you're just joining us, a little bit of breaking news in the NFL. Joe Flacco signs with the Browns, where he'll undoubtedly be their starting quarterback. Do you think Deshaun Watson ever starts a game again in the NFL?
No. Oh, in the NFL starts a game? Possible. Be the opening season starter for a team? I would say no. I mean, the fact that we go through 70 starting quarterbacks a year, he could be a backup somewhere and get a start. That doesn't seem nuts.
Think he ever starts a game for Cleveland again?
No.
So that means someone else is going to have to pick him up. Whenever it is that he gets released by the Browns, someone else is going to have to pick him up. I don't know how many teams will reach out.
I don't think it will be many, but given the state of quarterbacking in the league and how bad the backups are around the league, if he can come back from this Achilles and show that he can throw the ball, I don't ever put it past any general manager to bring in someone that they deem has talent.
Some very interesting decisions by Cleveland at the quarterback position this year. So they cut ties with Jameis. They acquire Kenny Pickett. I know folks with the Eagles organization that midway through last season, they were kind of done with Pickett. They got this third stringer last year who I think will be their backup this year. I think is McKee is his name, and they like him. So, I don't know if Kenny Pickett's going to have a career, to be honest, but Cleveland went Kenny Pickett, and now they bring Joe Flacco back, probably a year too late.
Yeah, I'm sure it's a year too late. But he's going to get a chance to start. That's what he was waiting for. I'd said all along, if I was Minnesota, I would have been all over Joe Flacco. All over him. But he wants to start. Cleveland's going to give him a better chance to start. He probably will be the starter, like you said. So he chose Cleveland. Hey, by the way, the Masters just put out basically a weather bulletin for today.
Oh.
9 a.m., breezy, 10 to 15 mile an hour winds. 11 a.m., same basically. By 1 o'clock, the winds start picking up. By 3 o'clock, the winds will pick up more, and there's a 30% chance of a shower or storm. And by 5 o'clock, there's a 35% chance of a storm, and the winds will be blowing 15 to 20 miles an hour. So it could be a big advantage playing this morning at Augusta National.
Which goes against recent Masters history, in which it was Thursday morning, Friday late. This Thursday, Friday, it could turn out to be, let's go Thursday afternoon, Friday morning. And Justin Rose tees off in like 20 minutes, doesn't he?
Correct. So we'll see. Justin Rose, 71.5 over under.
Under. I don't think by much. It could even be 71, but I think he puts a solid round on the board.
Rory, 70.5 over under.
Under.
I think so too. I think Rory breaks 70 today. I think he's going to play well.
Don't you think he at least birdies 15 today? I do.
I'm going to be interested in that hole in this tournament because I did not realize until listening to the radio broadcast yesterday that that green has been recently redone. Therefore, that green is more firm than any green at Augusta National. These guys are hitting long clubs into 15. They can't hold the green. I wonder if by Saturday, Sunday, and seeing this over and over, if you're going to see guys try to lay up and put a wedge in their hand, because that chip from over the green is, I didn't see, saw one player, Oberg, who just rolled off the bat. I mean, he was maybe 3 feet off the green, got up and down. Anybody that went significantly over 15, I did not see anybody make birdie from behind that green.
We've talked about, you have been at Augusta once, right?
Yes.
And I was there twice. I believe that is the one part of the course that I don't think CBS and television have done justice with. When you stand in the middle of 15, on the right side of the fairway, because that's basically where you could stand, that green to me, Mark, looks like not much more than a postage stamp. And you start thinking about all the places they can put the pin. And you're like, how do you hit some of the shots that have been hit into this green? I mean, this is amazing. I mean, it seems as if from 200 to 230 yards, that your margin of error is like 2 club lengths.
Yes, absolutely. And it is it's not a deep green. It's a wide green.
And it's
a very wide green that has unbelievable undulation. And like you said, you do not have, I mean, you look at all the great eagles that have been made on 15 and where the ball has landed. I mean, it has to land essentially just over the creek on the front third of that green to have any shot to hold it. And they weren't holding when they did that yesterday. And think about it. These guys are hitting the ball higher than ever before.
I mean, the most famous eagle on 15, I think, was Jack in 86. It was a 213-yard 4-iron.
Right.
Okay. Now, granted, Jack hit higher irons than just about anybody. So Jack could get as much spin and control of his long irons. I mean, there are very few people that they think were a better long iron player than Nicklaus. Maybe Weiskopf, and that's about it. But if you were to watch that 86 highlight reel again, Jack's ball lands within like 10 feet of the hole and checks up pretty quickly. And that's a 213-yard 4-iron with the technology that we had with equipment back in the mid-'80s. It also makes you realize, my goodness, what a shot he hit. He managed to hit a 4-iron and have it drop onto the green like, you're dropping the ball for a penalty drop.
So I'm fascinated by 15 at this year's Masters more than ever before because it's a great hole to begin with. But when you add the firmness of where the green is right now, it's going to be a make or break hole this weekend. It really is. Because it's your last realistic chance to make a good score. Yeah, you can birdie 16. Yeah, you can birdie 17 and 18. But those are not what you would consider scoring holes. 15's a scoring hole.
Well, who was doing the announcing? All right, of 15 back in 86, Ben Wright. And Jack makes the putt. And by the way, Ben Wright was the one who said, yes, sir, first. And Ben Wright goes, yes, sir. But before he made the putt, okay, and you're talking about your last chance to have a really good score, And Jack drops it in there to about 7 feet, and he says he's got a chance. He's got a really good chance.
Miller and Moulton. 21,000 is the text line. The only thing I didn't bring up with Pat that I really wanted to is whether he thinks Tyreek Hill's going to get traded. And what we ran out of time. It's what I'll probably ask him on Tuesday. We talked about that earlier. They can't cut Tyreek Hill. They can't.
No.
I mean, they just contractually cannot do it. It doesn't work this year. They can cut him next year, and they're going to have to because his cap hit next year becomes what? It's a stupid number.
Well, yeah, but his dead cap hit, though, only becomes like 15, 16 million.
Correct. Correct.
Right. So,
if they keep him, he's like at 60 on the cap. But if they cut him, it's only a dead cap hit of like 15, 16. So next year's the year they can cut him. But if they trade him I think it's post June 1, their cap hits aren't that bad. So if they really wanted to get rid of him now, if they've had enough, I believe after June 1, they can trade him. But that's bad news because they're not getting anything for this year's draft. They can't trade him. By all accounts, they can't trade him before the draft because of the way the contract works.
Teron Armstead was on Kay Adams' show, Up and Adams, which I believe is FanDuel, right?
Yes.
And he was pretty honest about Tyreek. She asked him either yesterday or the day before, and he said, yeah, he was a real problem last year. And I talked to him at the end of the season and said, this can't continue. This isn't going to work. But Teron did not, back down from, hey, he's a problem.
And I don't expect a coach to necessarily say that, but McDaniels, what did he basically assured? He would about 2-3 weeks ago, he'll be on the team. He's part of our plans. Someone's got to take a hard line with this team at some point, David, whether it's Greer, whether it's Ross, whether it's McDaniel, someone's got to take a hard line with this team and make tough decisions.
Oh, Mark, I can't imagine it's going to be Greer because in theory, those decisions would have been made this offseason. And to me, they've pretty much kicked cans down the road and made a few salary cap decisions. So it's probably going to be Stephen Ross at the end of this year when this year doesn't go well. And there'll be a brand new regime in Miami. That's probably, if I had to bet, okay, the next time that somebody makes the really hard decisions, do I think it'll be Greer? Do I think it'll be McDaniel? No, I got my money on the owner.
And if you're the owner then, David, if you're Stephen Ross and how can you, with what's going on with Hill, justify keeping him for another year then? If you're the guy that's going to make that decision, you're not necessarily there because of your football reasoning. You're there because of your franchise and you trust your football people. So if you've decided that we've got to get rid of this guy, why the hell would you wait till next year? Why wouldn't you just trade him and be done with it? And like you said, if you've got to trade him, and I don't know, we'll get, when we thought that Jared Goff went to the Lions, we thought that first round pick was basically for them taking Goff, that the Dolphins may have to give something to get rid of Tyreek Hill.
I think at this point, the Dolphins are sleeping in the bed that they've made, for better or worse. Now, we have soured on them. We think that this core that they put together has peaked and that this year is going to go similarly to last year, maybe worse. And it's going to be a regime change in about 8 months, 9 tops. They obviously are thinking differently because all organizations don't think that way. Stephen Ross turns 85 next month. Think about how dismayed Stephen Ross will be if Stephen Ross has to blow up Chris Greer and Mike McDaniel. He's 85 next month. To be starting over with your NFL team heading into your 86th year, I mean, seriously, that's another reason why I think Ross is willing to be like, well, let's just see if this can work out, if this was just one bad year. Because do you really think Stephen Ross wants to blow up anything he's a part of at this stage of his life?
You're probably right. I guess I don't get it from an owner's standpoint when you see someone act the way this guy's acted. On top of the fact, see, when you act like this and you're great, owners and GMs can look the other way. But the skills are diminishing. And the actions are hurting him on the field, too, it seems. They did last year.
Well, but that's the first time, though. You know, that's the other thing, that whatever issues that Tyreek had, until last year, you couldn't dispute what he brought to the field. Now's the first time you can question, oh boy. You know, big year for him too. I mean, who's going to want, if this year goes like last year, who the hell's going to want him?
Miller and Moulton.
For over 50 years, the Nolan family has been dedicated to protecting local families. Nolan Family Insurance is a second-generation independent agency that specializes in home, flood, auto, and boat insurance. They take the time needed to explain your coverage options and answer your questions so you can make an informed decision that's right for you. If you're looking for an agency that treats you like family, call 941-639-1122 or go to nolanagency.com. That's 941-639-1122 or nolanagency.com.
Mark Miller for Molly Maid. Why Molly Maid, you ask? Trust. Moulton was a customer for 15 years. Affordability. Didn't I just say Moulton was a customer for 15 years? Worry-free services. Our professional house cleaners are fully insured and a 24-hour warranty. Call Molly Maids today at 239-774-5839. That's 239-774-5839 or online at mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. That's mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Basketball's heating up the hardwood. What a great time to stop in at the Floor Meisters and look at their hardwood. A large selection to choose from, including Mirage hardwood flooring. Floor Meisters has a look and style you want. Mirage wood is grown and made in Canada from the finest quality wood flooring you'll find. And while you're in, ask to see the Petite Enfant collection. 5 custom colors made only for the Floor Meisters. So good it has a 35-year warranty. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard, next to Costco, or floormeisters.com.
We've got a text message for Dr. Dollar. A few of my friends are taking daily Cialis or Viagra. What are the benefits and how much does it cost?
Great question. Cialis, tadalafil, and Viagra, sildenafil, are game changer for men who want better performance, stamina, and confidence. They improve blood flow, support long-lasting performance, and help you feel like yourself again. And the best part, at Revitalize Clinic, we make it affordable. Less than $1 per pill. No overpriced prescription, no hassle, just real results, American made at the best prices in town. Plus, with early hours starting at 5:30 in the morning, we fit your schedule.
Take control of your health today. Call Revitalize Clinic at 239-277-5770. Visit revitalizelounge.com or text Dr. Dollar directly at 239-980-2302. That's 239-980-2302. Get results. Get confidence. Revitalize Clinic, because every man deserves to perform at his best without breaking the bank. Text Dr. Dollar now at 239-980-2302.
This is Miller and Moulton.
I tell you, there's not a service out there that doesn't offer you a discount if you challenge to leave. We use a thing called StreamYard for David and I to be on camera together, and they just doubled the subscription rate. So I was going to go down to a lower plan, and it was like $34 a month. And then they gave me this one for $40 a month. I'm like, okay. It's like The Athletic, for crying out loud. Sirius Radio. Just quit and they give you something for nothing. It's crazy.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floor Meister Studios. Floor Meisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
It is the bonus hour, reserved for the 239 and the 904 on this Masters and Football Friday. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. So one of the reasons that we like the Masters so much is we've gotten to know the course. At least we feel like we do, because, and it is ironic, Mark, the genius behind the folks running this tournament. They are the ones giving us the least amount of network television, even cable television coverage of it. Now, they do provide an awful lot on masters.com, but they provide the least, by far, the least amount of coverage of this tournament via television. Yet, it is the one tournament that we feel we know the most intimately because it's the same course year after year. If you were running golf, and I basically have to make you three different people, because I have to make you someone who's running the R&A, I have to make you someone who's running the USGA, and I have to make you someone who's running the PGA of America. Do you shrink your rotation? Because the U.S. Open oftentimes goes about 10 years in between, if you played Shinnecock in 2018, I think it's right around 2028, they go back to Shinnecock. It's usually about 10 years, sometimes 9, sometimes 11. I mean, they've got about 7, 8 courses that are in their rotation, but obviously because it's that many, you go about a decade. If you're the USGA, if you're the PGA of America, they've got 7 courses in the open rotation, and if Trump ever sells Turnberry, they'll put that one back in the rotation because the R&A has got a thing with Trump. I mean, I'm just wondering, would it better your tournament if you reduce the number of courses that it was on so that we knew it better?
Probably, and yet I would never do it. I think that one of the, I was asked yesterday to rank the 4 tournaments in order. And so you start with the Masters, the PGA's 4th. It's whether you put the British ahead of the U.S. Open. And I always put the U.S. Open ahead of the British because I think it's the truest test, the hardest test that there is in golf. And the British Open, while I love the Open, I love when it comes on in the morning, weather dictates play more
to me than the golf course does. And you have to get lucky with the British Open. You got to get the right bounces. You got to miss a bunker. Whereas if you can hit fairways and greens in the U.S. Open, well, you can win it. I like the fact that they go to a lot of other places. I actually would hope that, let's just say the U.S. Open rotation 6 or 7. I would like it to be similar how you and I talk about Super Bowls. Let's get the 4 spots. Let's get the 5 spots. And then after those 5 run, we'll give a new guy a shot. And then we'll go back to the rotation. Because I would like to see the opportunity for the tournament to be in different places. I like the fact that they had it in Washington, even though it looked terrible on television when they did so. I like the fact that we get to see some other courses and that they can test these guys in different ways. They could have it at Shinnecock and Winged Foot every year if they wanted to.
Well, for instance, this year the U.S. Open's at Oakmont, 9 years after it was last at Oakmont. DJ won it there in 2016. The 26 Open is at Shinnecock. That's 8 years after Koepka went back-to-back. Then the 27 Open is at Pebble. That's 8 years after Gary Woodland won.
By the way, just a quick question on that. Should Pebble be taken off the rotation? I was lucky enough to play that golf course. It's beautiful. You've been there. You've seen it, David. It is a gorgeous piece of land.
It's amazing.
But unless it blows like hell,
it's short and easy.
They bring those fairways in so tight that they have to trick up Pebble to make it worthy of an Open.
It's funny, Mark. There's a part of me that wonders, should Pebble be in the Open rotation at all? Has Pebble become like Marion and some other great courses in this country, which started as a U.S. Open track and now is a PGA track?
I agree with that wholeheartedly. That's why I asked the question.
So they seem to be on about an 8 to 9 year rotation with the U.S. Open, because Winged Foot's the choice in 28. Winged Foot, I believe, was where DeChambeau won in the COVID year of 2020. Pinehurst has gotten a regular spot in the rotation now. They're going back to Marion in 2030. I don't think they've been there since Justin Rose beat Phil in 2013. So that's interesting. But, I will say this. They're having Pebble in 27, and then they go back there in 2032.
Yeah, they love Pebble. And I think the networks, I think that NBC obviously loves having it at Pebble. It's pretty pictures. You never have to worry about it not looking great.
If I was the U.S. Open, I would shorten my rotation. If I was the PGA, I would not. I actually think the PGA is making a mistake that when it was in August, there were large sections of this country where you realistically could not have a PGA. It was just too damn hot. Well, now it's in May. It doesn't mean that it can't get hot in certain parts of this country. But don't you think this brings Florida, Texas? I mean, Texas hasn't had a major since the late 60s, I believe. Now, I believe they have a PGA scheduled in a few years. But, Southern Hills there in Oklahoma, they used to hold some Opens there that were just brutally hot. And even some PGAs that were also brutally hot. I mean, I would like to, have we had a major in Arizona? A lot of people golf in Arizona. Have we had a major in that state?
Not that I can recall, if there ever was one.
And if I'm the PGA of America, aren't I kind of celebrating everything about this sport coast to coast? I would have a huge rotation if I was the PGA of America. And I would shorten it even further if I was the USGA. Like some of these courses, I got to be honest, it's an obscenely, ridiculously hard course. Oakmont? I mean, not the best TV golf course, if you know what I mean. I mean, the closing holes there, kind of a slog. And they don't take any of that into consideration, but they should.
It's funny, when you started this, I thought you were going to, because I've raved about the Masters app. I thought you were going to say, should other things be doing it? Because we were talking about the coverage. And, I like the idea of the PGA opening up to more places. People are suggesting like Banyan Dunes. They're never going to have a PGA, in my opinion, at a Banyan Dunes or at a Stream Song or somewhere that they're so far off the beaten path that people can't get to it. It's got to be in an area where lots of fans can get to the golf course. Banyan Dunes is like 4 hours from Portland in Oregon. No one's going. You can't do that. I don't believe.
Where was the place that Spieth won the U.S. Open in 2015 in Oregon? And that was the USGA. For them, that was really going out of the box. That golf course also was like 2-3 years old. And they're like, yeah, we ain't doing this again. Even though it was actually a great track for television, except the course had browned and you couldn't see the golf ball amongst the gray skies. It was like watching the 75 British again. Okay. But just a thought. It is remarkable what the Masters has pulled off and the things they do so differently from everybody else. A, it's the same damn course every year. B, they, until they started doing Masters.com, I mean, Mark, remember, the earliest we could see a golf shot growing up, for the longest time, till damn near this century, you couldn't see a golf shot before the approaches into 8.
Yep. I remember, and I Masters tickets for practice rounds were easier to come by in the early 90s. I worked in Atlanta, and my boss at the time, Craig Jenkins, went to a practice round, and he came back, and he was a golfer, and he just looked at me, and I was Flash to him. That was my nickname there. He's like, Flash. And Jenks was from Knoxville, Tennessee. It's like, Flash, you got to see the front nine. I've never seen anything like it. And all he did was talk about the front nine, because we'd never seen it.
Never.
And what we saw on 8 and 9 when we'd see shots were handheld cameras. They didn't have any towers built on 8 and 9. They were basically going out there with a cable and a handheld and giving you some shots from the fairway.
So they were, and they still are. They give you the least amount of television. Now,
but they give you the most television.
If you use their app. Okay.
No, but I'm saying they give you the most. We complain all the time about the commercials on NBC.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no sporting event on the planet that gives you more action per hour than what they do at the Masters. It's not close. And that's all dictated by Augusta National.
They held out the longest before they even showed us the damn front nine. And yet, it works for them. And I'm just wondering how much is familiarity. Now, obviously, it's a remarkable course. And if the PGA of America and the USGA and, how many courses can they go to that are in the ballpark with Augusta National? So they also have, a home course advantage there. I'm just wondering, should the other majors start, we've talked about it with the Super Bowl. Would the NFL be better off just like picking 4 or 5 places? And we just rotate them. Kind of like the big 4 or 5 bowls in college. Miller and Moulton.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Basketball's heating up the hardwood. What a great time to stop in at the Floor Meisters and look at their hardwood. A large selection to choose from, including Mirage hardwood flooring. Floor Meisters has a look and style you want. Mirage wood is grown and made in Canada from the finest quality wood flooring you'll find. And while you're in, ask to see the Petite Enfant collection. 5 custom colors made only for the Floor Meisters. So good it has a 35-year warranty. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard, next to Costco, or floormeisters.com.
Whether you're chasing peak performance, reigniting intimacy, or simply want to feel your best, Game Day Men's Health creates customized game plans to optimize your health. Call 239-427-3441 for our Bonita Springs and Naples location to set up your free testosterone test and consultation. Mention Miller Moulton Radio Show for 10% off your service. Find your maximum self with Game Day Men's Health, Bonita Springs and Naples, Florida. Call 239-427-3441 today.
Honey, you want to come out? I haven't seen you since Glass Doctor installed our custom shower enclosure.
No thanks.
Well, you can't keep eating breakfast in the shower, and laminating your magazines is getting expensive. You remember we have guests coming over tonight, right?
Oh, I'm sure they'd love to see the shower.
It's our neighbors, and I highly doubt they want to be hanging out in our bathroom.
The shower's so good, you'll never want to leave. Visit glassdoctor.com today and schedule an appointment online.
This is Miller and Moulton. You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
21 minutes past the hour. The home stretch of Miller and Moulton for the day and for the week. We hope you've had a good week, and we thank you for spending part of it with us. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X.
All right, let me ask you a football question. A way too early football question. Who's going to be picking first out of these two teams in the 2026 draft? Miami or Jacksonville? I mean, I think both. I don't like the direction that either team's going in, but one's in the, both divisions are suspect. Buffalo, obviously, the class of one. Houston appears to be the class of the other. But as we head into this year, I think we can safely, we can guess that Tampa will be the best Florida pro team of the three. Which one will be the worst?
I'm really down on the Dolphins. I really am. I think the Dolphins are going to finish in a lower place in their division than the Jags are going to finish in theirs. Like, I think Tennessee and Indianapolis are a bit of a mess right now. And so I think Jacksonville doesn't even have to be good. And I think if Jacksonville just returns to decency, it's a minimum 7, maybe 8 wins. So now, for what it's worth, crossovers, the Jags, the AFC South plays the AFC West and the NFC West.
Okay.
So, their crossover teams that they play, besides the division folks, are the Jets and the Panthers and the Bengals in terms of their crossover games outside of their own division and the 2 crossover divisions.
Right.
So I don't know, Mark. I have a very bad feeling about the Dolphins, and I hope I'm wrong. But I see like 7-10 for Jacksonville, and I don't think the Dolphins beat it.
It's interesting because I think when you look at the AFC East, I think we all made a mistake. Well, not we all. You guys might have done a great job. Miller and Moulton made a tremendous mistake last year, devaluing the Buffalo Bills.
Yes.
We made a horrific mistake.
Yeah, we thought they'd take a step back. They'd be more like a 9 or 10 win team, and they wouldn't win the division, and we couldn't have been more wrong.
But this year, it's hard to think, okay, the Jets may be better record-wise, but I don't know how much better the Jets are going to be this year than last year. I mean, Aaron Glenn so much has said it. I don't care about wins and losses this year. We're trying to rebuild a culture. The things Aaron Glenn is saying make it seem as if the Jets are a mess inside their front office. Not to mention an owner who was given the worst grade in the NFLPA's assessment of teams. And he's been defiant as to say, it's not me. We're doing a great job. Your survey's what's messed up.
Right.
And the Patriots, while I like the moves that they're making, it's not realistic to think that there's going to be a big turnaround in New England this year. They still don't have skilled guys. They've got a long ways to go. So I could see the Miami Dolphins being the second place team in that division. What does that mean? It could mean 7-10.
Well, in one sense, I think the Dolphins got the easier schedule because the AFC East teams are playing the AFC North, and the NFC South, as opposed to Jacksonville having to play both Western divisions. I mean, AFC North, AFC West. Toss up? Could even be the West is slightly harder. And then, but NFC West versus NFC South, I think you have to say the NFC West is harder. So I could argue that Miami with the crossover divisions got a slight edge. Now they did finish second in their division, and Jacksonville did not. Jacksonville finished third. So Jacksonville's crossover is a little harder, or a little easier, I should say. Miami has the Colts, the Chargers, and the Commanders as their crossover games. Whew. This one could be a push.
It could. And I wasn't really even thinking about schedules and crossovers. I was just kind of going with what your gut thought. And I appreciate getting all the information, but I just, when I look at those two teams, they're in, we talked about it last year when they played that first game. It turns out we were right, not about the direction they were going, but about the teams. They're eerily similar. They both face the same problems. Can Liam Cohn make the Jags tougher? Can he instill in them what other coaches have been able to do when they come in? But McDaniel obviously has not instilled toughness in this Dolphin team. They're the furthest thing from it. They're a finesse team in a tough league.
One team's picking 5th this year. The other team's picking 13th. So obviously there's a clear level of separation. I don't feel the Dolphins have gotten better. Even if all those guys on defense come back healthy, I don't think they're a better team. I do think the Jags will be better this year. I don't even think they'll be the same. I definitely think they'll be better. This is stupid on my part. I mean, the Jags are horribly inconsistent, have had very few winning seasons in the last 20 years, and the Dolphins, until last year, had 4 consecutive winning seasons. But I don't know. Mark, in the 20 years we've been doing a show together, and in the 25 plus years that I've been living in Florida, I don't think I've ever been more down about the Dolphins.
I don't think you have either. The question I would ask you, though, which quarterback would you rather have heading into the season, Trevor Lawrence or Tua? Because I'd take Tua. And I don't think at this point it's, hey, we all know what the ceiling could be on Trevor. I don't know if he likes football. I really don't.
Yeah, I'd take Tua. You have to.
He's
got more of a track record. You know, Trevor had an hour and a half there. Trevor and the Jags had about an hour and a half.
So I'm worried about both teams and wondering which one. They both picked relatively early in this draft. We'll see what their fate is for this upcoming season.
If I'm the Dolphins, if I get a chance, I'm trading down. I don't know if at 13 I will, but there's got to be an offensive tackle that somebody wants that they're willing to trade up for, maybe even a defensive lineman. If I'm the Dolphins, I'm trading down.
If that third tackle's still there. You know, would the Chiefs want to go up and get him? That's really the question to me. And I agree with you. There are a lot of teams that trade down. You just have to find a partner. And I don't think there'll be as many teams wanting to go up in the draft.
And if I'm the Jags, I am just drafting Mason Graham 5th. I will make this pick 37 seconds after the Patriots take whoever it is they're going to take. Honestly, we can't do this fast enough. In fact, I'm really concerned if Genty and Sanders are not going top 3, and I don't think either will. Is it possible the Patriots take Mason Graham? Because I didn't think there was a chance, and you know what, that the Jags could not get Mason Graham out of this draft if they wanted. If you're New England, I mean, if Hunter's going 2 and Abdul Carter's going 3, if you're the Patriots, who are you taking it for?
You may be right. They want to get a skill guy, but there's not a good receiver there, and there's not one worth taking. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Today was a day one. What's on tap? It's next.
Basketball's heating up the hardwood. What a great time to stop in at the Floor Meisters and look at their hardwood. A large selection to choose from, including Mirage hardwood flooring. Floor Meisters has a look and style you want. Mirage wood is grown and made in Canada from the finest quality wood flooring you'll find. And while you're in, ask to see the Petite Enfant collection. 5 custom colors made only for the Floor Meisters. So good it has a 35-year warranty. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard, next to Costco, or floormeisters.com.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net. For over 50 years, the Nolan family has been dedicated to protecting local families. Nolan Family Insurance is a second-generation independent agency that specializes in home, flood, auto, and boat insurance. They take the time needed to explain your coverage options and answer your questions so you can make an informed decision that's right for you. If you're looking for an agency that treats you like family, call 941-639-1122 or go to NolanAgency.com. That's 941-639-1122 or NolanAgency.com. Sleep problem but don't want to wear a CPAP mask? This is Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. The mask wasn't working for me, and I didn't think I had an alternative. I do. We all do. They have such simple alternatives with greater success than the mask. Visit SleepTreatmentDirect.com. That's SleepTreatmentDirect.com. And if you are like me and your CPAP machine isn't working for you, it's time for a change. Call 239-444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound.
This is Miller and Moulton.
We failed to. I didn't see it until later in the show. I didn't realize Rory skipped media yesterday.
Well, he supported Morikawa.
I know. It was funny listening to the radio. They talked about that a bit. And I don't know if it was Melnick or one of them said, when a guy in a green jacket taps you on the shoulder and says to go talk to the media, you say yes. Like they were saying that, hey, other tournaments are other tournaments. But at Augusta,
right,
when the green jacket guy says you need to go talk to the media, you talk to the media. But he went right to the practice tee. What's he practicing? The chip on 15? I mean,
hello.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. Text the guys what's in your mind at 21,000. That's 21000. And now, here's David Moulton.
The home stretch of Miller and Moulton on this Friday. Thanks so much for being with us. On Monday, we'll look back at the Masters and the entire weekend, and we'll be a week and a half away from the NFL draft. More NFL draft preview talk coming up on Monday.
It's that time again, nearing the end, but not quite there yet. Here's Mark Miller with Today Was the Day When.
Game Day Men's Health, the proud sponsor of Today Was the Day When. Call them today at 239-427-3441. That's 427-3441, or go online, GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Locations in Bonita and Naples. Mention Miller and Moulton for 10% off your service. Today in 1898, President William McKinley asked Congress to declare war on Spain. KDKA in Pittsburgh broadcast the first radio sporting event today in 1921. It was a boxing match between lightweights Johnny Ray and Johnny Dundee. I'm pretty sure Johnny won. 1936, the Red Wings win their first Stanley Cup championship, beating the Maple Leafs 3-1 in the series. 1961, Bob Dylan makes his first appearance in Greenwich Village. 1964, Beatlemania was at its height. The Beatles set a record when 14 of the top 100 songs on the charts are by the Beatles. Can't Buy Me number one. Love is number one. Love Me Do was their lowest at 81. 65, Nicklaus wins his second of 6, a tournament record, 17 under. He beat Player and Palmer by 9.
What was remarkable was the next year, he goes back-to-back, the first to do so, and I think his winning score was like even or one over. So in back-to-back years, that's, look how different the course and the tournament played.
And because that ended up being on a Monday, Nicklaus goes back-to-back the next year at an 18-hole playoff, beating Gabe Brewer and Tommy Jacobs. Also today in 66, Sinatra records Strangers in the Night. It would reach number 1 on the Billboard charts. In 1970 today, San Francisco beat Cincinnati 2-1. It's significant because it's the only day that the Reds were not in first place in 1970. 1971, Charles Cootie, your Masters winner. 1976, Ray Floyd wins his only Masters, beating Ben Crenshaw by 8. Looking Back, Texas, released by Waylon Jennings. Song of the Year in 77 was released today. Stadler wins his today in 82. Seve wins his second Masters today in 83. Today in 1989, Ron Hextall for the Philadelphia Flyers becomes the first goalie to ever score a goal in the playoffs, an empty netter while his team was shorthanded in an 8-5 win. Bernard Longer wins his second Green Jacket today in 93. Ola Thabo wins his second today in 99. Mickelson gets his first major today in 04, beating Ernie Els by 1. 2010, Mickelson wins his third Green Jacket. And in 2021, Hideki Matsuyama becomes the first Japanese male to win a golf major, beating Will Zalatoris by 1 shot. The only birthday of note today that I have, David, is Brett Saberhagen is 61 years old. What did I miss?
No, you hit it all as far as I'm concerned.
Green fairways and greens, one of those days.
Time to see life a little bit differently. Here's Mark Miller with the good, the bad, and the ugly. What do you got, Mark?
We go to St. Louis for the good, and a great job by the St. Louis Fire Department. A puppy, took a 100-foot fall into an abandoned silo. The fire department said on social media that it was a complex issue that required a firefighter to be lowered into the silo to retrieve the canine. The dog, now dubbed Silo by rescuers, was taken to the St. Louis Animal Control for evaluation. For the bad, we go to Port Charlotte, where Marcio Mera of Bradenton is facing felony charges after dumping more than 500 pounds of garbage along Babcock Road. The pile of trash included mattresses, faucets, a toilet, and other debris. It's still laying on the street. He's not the first person to use that as a dump, but neighbors are ticked off because there's a dump nearby. Finally, the ugly, and a terrible story. Didn't even really want to go there, but I've been having trouble finding uglies. Yesterday, Donald Peyton Lee Russell Jr. That's a hell of a name. The 42-year-old purposefully crashed into the St. Matthew's House Boutique thrift store on Airport Pulling Road. He injured 5 people. He was injured as well. He was taken into custody at the scene, transported to a hospital for treatment, and then taken to the Collier County Jail. 6 people in all were injured. 3 suffered traumatic injuries due to the crash. That is the good, the bad, and the ugly on today, April the 11th, here on Miller and Moulton.
Well, obviously, we got the Masters. Over the weekend, all the coverage shifts to Paramount and CBS. I believe Paramount or Paramount Plus is noon to 2, and then I believe CBS is 2 o'clock until they're done. They're scheduled to be done at 7. Oftentimes Sunday goes closer to 7:20, 7:30. Since the NBA has only got 3 days left in its regular season, and most every team in the league has 2 games left to play, as you would expect, a lot of teams in action today. And by a lot, I mean the whole league is playing tonight. Orlando's in Indianapolis. Pacers trying to catch the Knicks for the 3 seed. And I got to admit, the Knicks closing schedule is not easy. Knicks host the Cavs tonight.
They're a 7.5-point favorite in that game.
The Knicks are?
Yes.
Obviously, they're not expecting Cleveland to play all their guys because the Knicks are winless against the Cavs, the Celtics, and the Thunder this year.
Well, Mitchell is a game-time decision because of an ankle. I'm telling you now, he's not playing. Mobley probably won't play as well. So it is
one Knicks win in their last 2 games, and they're the 3, and the Pacers are the 4. The Heat are in New Orleans. It's a long shot for Miami to be anything other than the 10 seed. They're a game behind Chicago with 2 to play, and the Bulls own the tiebreaker. And the Bulls are hosting the lowly Wizards tonight. So the likelihood is that Miami will lock in being the 10 seed when play is done tonight. Mark, just 5 games in the NHL. Your Wings are in Tampa to be mathematically eliminated against the Lightning. And the Les Habitants, Montreal, Marty St. Louis as head coach, with a chance to clinch the final wild card spot in the East when they're in Ottawa tonight. And by the way, Minnesota has a chance to lock up the 8 playoff teams in the West because they're in Calgary. And a regulation win, I think, or any win, I believe, eliminates the Flames and locks in who the 8 playoff teams are in the West.
You know, Montreal's fascinating. The captain of Montreal, Suzuki, right? Their captain.
Yep.
He went to the GM before the deadline because they were talking about blowing them up. And he said, don't do anything. Keep us together. That's putting your neck on the line as the captain of the Montreal Canadiens.
Yep.
Because if it doesn't work, you could be the one that gets moved.
Sure.
And they've rallied. They've played great hockey, and they're going to qualify for the playoffs.
And they're going to face the Caps in the first round. In baseball on a Friday, everybody's playing. Here are the series that may interest you. Besides, obviously, the Rays are home for the Braves this weekend. The Marlins are home for the Nats. But you got San Francisco and the Giants, or excuse me, the Giants and the Yankees, I should say, which will be the 3:00 FS1 game tomorrow. Your nationally televised Saturday game will be Giants-Yankees Saturday. Your Sunday night baseball game will be Cubs-Dodgers, Chicago in LA. That's got some sex appeal to it, right? NASCAR's in Bristol, the spring race on the short track there. They're finally eliminated that bad idea of dirt. Okay, they're just going to race.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
That was a way. I mean, it was cute once. That was enough.
3:00 Sunday on FS1. Tomorrow night, 7:30, ESPN2, your college hockey natty. Western Michigan and BU. Western Michigan knocked off the defending champs Denver in double overtime in the semis. And Boston University took care of Penn State last night. So Western Michigan and Boston University, what is that, the Broncos against the Terriers?
That is right. And the Broncos had never made it to a Frozen Four before. Yesterday was their first ever appearance in a Frozen Four. They beat Denver. Obviously, BU with a storied history in hockey. This is old hat to them. I would imagine BU is a pretty big favorite, but Western Michigan's a really old college hockey team. I mean, they are full of seniors, and most of them played U.S. juniors, so there are a bunch of 24-year-olds out there for Western.
I don't know if we should draw any conclusions after this weekend, but I do find it interesting, Mark, that if I had to go against something, if I was running a sport and I was trying to get eyeballs, would you go head-to-head with the Masters, or would you say, hey, why don't we play at night?
I'd play at night.
So the UFL, which is not doing well.
No, it's not.
Ratings are really down, and they're getting a lot of network attention. To give you an idea, the UFL only has 8 teams. So they play 4 games every Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Tonight's game is 8:00 on Fox. I know one of the teams, the Birmingham Stallions. Is it the DC Renegades? I don't know. They list them as the Renegades and the Stallions. Nobody knows who the hell they are. Tomorrow's game is 2:30 on ESPN. You know, shortly after the final groups have teed off. It's the Roughnecks and the Showboats. Showboats are Memphis, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But the Sunday games are both on ABC. This is going to be 6+ hours of network coverage. Noon and 3:00 Sunday. Back-to-back UFL games. Not NHL games, not NBA games. Back-to-back UFL games. noon and 3 Sunday on ABC.
Good luck with that for all of you that are watching. It's amazing they get that kind of coverage.
And it's not working.
No,
There's
they're
interest.
No, and they try to put fans in the stands. That's not working anywhere. I know it does in St. Louis, but anywhere else it's not working. So,
and that is the 3 o'clock game on Sunday. St. Louis is home for the DC Defenders, and they're both unbeaten.
So there you have it. That's what's going on this weekend. As far as Miller and Moulton, miss any of the show, go to millerandmoulton.com to download what you missed. Justin Rose has made a birdie on the second hole. He has played 3 holes so far this morning. He is 1 under on the day, 8 under on the tournament. That's 4 clear of second place. But Oberg, the only player of the 4 under group that's teeing off this morning, he tees off in about 6 minutes. Connors tees off at 12:30. Scotty Scheffler does not tee off until 1:23.
However, Bryson DeChambeau, who was at 3 under, tees off in 23 minutes. So, Mark, as you pointed out, the weather, according to the Masters themselves, they released a weather forecast for the day. And the afternoon figures to be windier and some rain. Well, Connors, Scheffler, Tyrrell Hatton, all with afternoon tee times. Justin Rose is on the course, and he'll be joined in 5 minutes by Oberg, and then he'll be joined in 23 minutes by DeChambeau.
I would love Hatton to be around this weekend. I don't think that he will, because no one wears their emotions on their sleeve quite like Tyrrell Hatton, and I would love to see him be able to stick around. Have a terrific weekend, everyone. Enjoy the Masters. We'll be back to discuss it Monday morning, 6 a.m., Miller and Moulton. American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Basketball's heating up the hardwood. What a great time to stop in at the Floor Meisters and look at their hardwood. A large selection to choose from, including Mirage hardwood flooring. Floor Meisters has a look and style you want. Mirage wood is grown and made in Canada from the finest quality wood flooring you'll find. And while you're in, ask to see the Petite Enfant collection. 5 custom colors made only for the Floor Meisters. So good it has a 35-year warranty. Floor Meisters, 6281 Naples Boulevard, next to Costco, or floormeisters.com.
Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine. No more snoring. No more tossing. No more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment, fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound. Mark Miller for Molly Maid. Why Molly Maid, you ask? Trust. Moulton was a customer for 15 years. Affordability. Didn't I just say Moulton was a customer for 15 years? Worry-free services. Our professional house cleaners are fully insured and a 24-hour warranty. Call Molly Maids today at 239-774-5839. That's 239-774-5839 or online at mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. That's mollymaid.com/FTMYERS.
We've got a text message for Dr. Dollar. I feel tired, sluggish, and just not myself. I'm gaining weight, my energy is low, and I've lost my drive. Could it be low testosterone?
Absolutely. Testosterone naturally declines over time, but you don't have to accept it. Low T can affect your energy, strength, mood, and focus. But here's the good news. Testosterone replacement therapy, TRT, can help restore your vitality and get you back to feeling your best. Imagine waking up strong, sharp, and energized, ready to take on the day like you used to. At Revitalize Clinic, we specialize in physician-guided, American-made TRT designed just for you.
Take control of your health today. Call Revitalize Clinic at 239-277-5770. Visit revitalizelounge.com or text Dr. Dollar directly at 239-980-2302. Feel like yourself again. Testosterone replacement therapy, because your best years aren't behind you, they're just getting started. Text Dr. Dollar now at 239-980-2302.
This is Miller and Moulton.